Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're all doing well. Today's the day that we are going to be talking rather exclusively, not entirely exclusively because we know how we are, about Total War Warhammer 40,000. Because I have played the game quite recently, as you likely have heard and seen all over the interwebs, because I think I'm probably one of the last people to get around to this today, because I had some other stuff going on, and some things I had to take care of. But the good news is I have about 80 minutes of footage to show you guys. Plus, we're going to go over the live stream that CA did that absolutely wasn't full of issues due to microphone problems. So the surprise CA stream. All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, so first of all, yes, I can't believe I'm doing this again today. But we have lost another amazing 80-year-old in the world, Tim Curry. I very much agree, Biofoot, that whoever is in charge of death, someone needs to tell them to get their shit together. You know, my mother always says, my mother genuinely says this, that bad things come in threes. So, and she really, really means it for like when good people die, apparently. And she's eerily never wrong about that kind of shit. So, like, according to her, there's still one more shoe to drop before we're done. But it is very sad news. Rip Tim Curry and Dolly. They were both absolute legends, and it's heartbreaking. And I hope they're all resting well, whatever may await us in the show after this one. I hope this is about Seraphon news. Is there Seraphon news? Hold on, now I gotta go look at the fucking Warhammer community page. But today we are gonna be focusing on okay, no, I don't see any Seraphon stuff. Okay, cool. At least not today. So words. We are going to be talking a lot about 40k today, so everyone needs to buckle the fuck up. This is probably going to take us several hours. I'm going to be answering all the questions that I can answer, but I'm mostly going to be talking about my own experience with the game, to take y'all through how I feel about it, and hopefully y'all will be interested in my opinion, especially as my criticisms, will say, of 40k are not subtle, nor are they minor. It is a setting I have a lot of beef with, so it is not something that I am like rip out of the wall being like, oh, I'm so excited this game's being made. So I will tell y'all what I think about a hands-on, keeping in mind that this is a alpha version of the game. This is not even a beta, it is an alpha, so it is very, very, very early. Things may change. Things will likely be different in the fully released game that will come sometime next year, as Creative Assembly has confirmed that they're feeling pretty confident about a 2027 release date. But with all of that out of the way, I think it is time to get into it, after I get caught up with all the super chats and stuff, because thank you all very much for the support. Yeti 1313 finally feeds Space Marines to Orc Simulator. Yes, I fully agree. I look forward to killing many Space Marines. Morning to Crescent, thank you for the 1500 bits. Goodness. Putting on for MC to listen. They say hi and hope it's fun. MC. I don't know what MC stands for. I mean, you're Morning to Crescent, so is that MC? But hello. It's good to see you. Since when? Apparently, they have a rule that heroes can't have strong mounts, unlike lords. That's bullshit. That's not a thing. Whoever said that, like, did a CA employee say that to you? Because that's not true. That's not true at all. It's not up to CA. It's like CA. Well, it's kind of up to them, but it has more to do with GW than it does CA, and that's not how that works. Now I could see the argument that maybe the Coven Throne's interpretation, the way the Coven Throne has been adapted, perhaps the Coven Throne itself has unique challenges that make it inappropriate for a hero. And if that's the case, all right, that's a discussion that can be had. But considering that nobody's even have the chance to play with the Coven Throne, for anyone to be like, well, it should be a thing because it's too strong. Tell them I said, okay, where's your evidence, sir? What a dumbass statement. God, that's ignorant. That's ignorant. Yeah, no, that's bullshit. That's incredibly bullshit. Whoever said that is a genuine idiot. I say with love. Morning Crescent, but thank you. I hope you're doing well, dude. Thank you very much. Tech27, I can't wait for the surprise CA stream. The surprise so tech. It happens every day. Perfectly insane. Thank you very much for the 5 months of Prime. I really appreciate it. All right, so okay, question for y'all. Would y'all rather start with my footage of the game and I'll sort of talk you through it as we play, as we go through the footage? Would y'all be interested in starting with my footage and I'll sort of talk my way through it? Or would you rather we start with the Total War stream where they get into a lot of the nitty-gritty details and they talk about things that I did not know about until their stream, and we can sort of break down that information, and then we can sort of throw on my footage on the later part of the stream. What I am going to do today after this stream is I am going to release my footage unedited. I'm just going to release it as itself. So I'm just going to release it as a video with no commentary over it, where if people basically just want to sit and sort of vibe in the experience that I had, and they want to sort of just check it out and be able to look at it without someone else pausing or talking over it or any of that other shit, they can. Start with the stream. Okay, let's start with the stream. Okay, we'll start with the stream. Yes, I know the stream was a bit of a mess. We'll be skipping around. That's fine. So we will start with their stream. I think that's reasonable. Skatari Boy, thank you for the super chat. What 40k faction I'm most excited to play in the game? Be it one of the non-marine launch factions or the ones that will be DLCs in the vague future. I mean, the faction I'm the most excited for in the long run is the stuff I'm the most excited for in the long run is Tyranids. I am by far the most excited for Tyranids. When it comes to the playable factions, I think I'm the most excited for the Eldar, probably followed by Orcs, then Guard, then Space Marines. So that would probably be my answer for that. Especially if the Eldar get Exodites, I don't know how Exodites are going to be handled. Like, I don't know if Exodars are going to be a standalone like faction one day, or if they're just going to be like a sub faction within the Eldari. Exodites are fucking sick. So I would love for those to be in. How am I? I'm all right. Have I seen the Game of Thrones Westeros RTS trailer? I saw some very rapid clips of it on Twitter, and it looked pretty good. It looked interesting, so I might end up checking that out. It caught my attention. It looks like an actual decent RTS game, which are pretty rare these days. Also, randomly, I'll have some other footage of another game that's gonna be coming out soon that I'll probably have on the channel tomorrow. Oh my god, I have so much stuff to do. But anyway, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Yo Tom, thank you for the 100 bits. Another great moment in the thread was someone argued it makes sense for the Lamian heroes not to have the come throne because necromancers don't have the mortis engine. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. Whoever that is, slap them. Slap them. Slap them. Slap them. That's not how that works. I don't. Stupid fuckers just showing up and being like, well, I didn't get to do the thing I wanted to do, even though there's no support from it, from a tabletop or lore or rules or literally anything that has ever existed perspective. Fucking shut up! Shut up! If you don't know what you're talking about, then your opinion is invalid. Ugh. If someone go, oh, well, the necromancer can't render Mortis engine, that's because they can't! They can't! They explicitly can't! That's not how that works! Shut up! Ugh. God, I hate those people. Like, the audacity of someone to come in and be like, I don't think they should make this change to the game. That would be good for the game, and it was how the game functioned in its tabletop variant, and also how it worked in the lore, and also how it worked by the guys that hold the IP, because I didn't get to do the stupid fucking thing I wanted to do, which is not supported by any of the playable material. Idiots! Idiots! Sorry. Anyway. Ugh. God. It just, that gives me trauma flashbacks of, like, being in a room and having to talk with someone that, like, is, like, arguing hard about, like, lore stuff, and they just genuinely have no fucking idea what they're talking about. But they're arguing with their full chest. And I'm like, I'm gonna beat you to death, sir. I'm going to beat you to death with these hands. Can Space Marines ride the Mortis engine? No, they don't have the drip. They are unworthy. They are deeply unworthy. All right. So, let's get into this. Note this stream did have a decent amount of audio issues because all of their microphones were basically broken at the start, and then they only fixed like 2 of them. And even then, in classic British, or well, not British because Oscar's not British, but in classic European fashion, they all talk really fucking softly, which is so silly. All right. So,
hello everybody, and welcome to.
We are also going to put them on speed up because I don't want to sit here forever. I'm not going to super speed them up because I want to be able to make sure I actually understand what they're saying. But, I feel like you're using these bits to rage bait me at this point. That's not how that works. That's not a Coven Throne is not a legal status. Coven Throne is not a legal status. You do not have to be a vampire lord to apply for papers. Also, it's a generic unit. Anyway.
I did. Fantastic. We're here today to talk about Total Warhammer 40,000. So, there's been a bit of a wave of footage this morning.
Alright, so they...
Hello. Should I...
So, Oscar, we love Oscar. For those of y'all that don't know Oscar, especially... Will and Oscar are, like, vets. They're, like, long-term vets. No, Starling has not had a shout-out. So, mods, can we get a shout-out for... Starling VT, who's a super good buddy of mine, and he's back to streaming. He was streaming yesterday, I believe, and he's super cool, and y'all should follow him because he's super awesome. Oscar, who you know may remember as Agony Duck, he goes all the way back to the Shogun 2 days of being like a hardcore multiplayer guy. But he's worked for CA for a long time, and both of these guys have had huge impact on Total War Warhammer.
Used to do work on the Warhammer Fantasy team back in the days, and now part of the Battle team.
All right. So no one could hear Will, and they went, "Oh no!" So we're gonna skip all of this. None of this is new information.
And we all know we would. Bedson, I won't ask you to introduce yourself because you have no microphone. But Bedson he'll be playing at. We're aiming him for like a mid-skill level.
Shock horror. People on Red don't know what they're talking about. Well, he said thread, so I'm assuming he's talking. He's on the Total War forums.
Absolutely just steamroll.
It might have been on Reddit, but who knows?
How can my mic not be working? 3 sections. There's learning the basics.
All right, we're gonna skip all this. We're gonna skip this because I'll go over this with my own footage.
Is this the one where we can zoom out to a system? Well, we'll be showing that.
We'll show that later. But yes, a single planet is made of multiple. A single star system model is made of different planets. You can traverse between those planets by flying through space. You can fight on multiple planets at the same time. And that set of planets within that solar system is what.
Okay, so because I know how y'all are, I know how people are when they watch these, where they manage to somehow watch these and don't absorb any of the information. I'm I'm gonna do my best to very specifically break down key points as we play through this or watch through this, to reinforce things that hopefully y'all could take with you as nuggets of information, or clips if you're clipping this crap, and you could take with you off into the interwebs to reinforce your own arguments for people who watch this and will not have listened to anything that was said. So one of the things that we're starting off with is that basically a typical campaign setup is going to be that you are fighting within a series of planets.
Between those planets, by flying through space, you can fight multiple planets at the same time.
You have, regardless of what faction you're playing, you have ways to move through space. So in the sense of like Space Marines, you have like a little fleet with like a big battle cruiser type thing that moves across it. And you are able to engage on multiple planets at once. So the system you are in, you can either focus all of your efforts on a singular planet, or you could focus your efforts on all of the planets, or you could focus your effort on some of the planets. So you are able to spread out or focus fire, just like if you're playing a Total War Warhammer campaign, you could focus all of your resources into like several 20 stacks that go a singular direction, or you could spread it a bunch of different directions. However, this one's going to be a bit more unique because when you're fighting on a planet, your forces are there and they are not able to get to the other planet without the use of your fleets or perhaps some other system, like maybe there will be some kind of buildings you can build that might allow for that, but those will probably be fairly high tier, unique, interesting.
And that set of planets within that solar system is what represents probably the closest equivalent to what we would have as a traditional campaign in the Total War game.
And so what they can see is there are quite a few grayed out buttons there. So this build is, we've called it a slice and a taste of the campaign, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is that most of your campaigns will focus on a solar system, which will be within a sector, which will be within the galaxy. So there's like levels to this. But when it comes to standard Total War gameplay, of the sense of you have armies and regions and like provinces, and you're like clicking around and moving stuff, and there's like real-time battles and turn-based like construction, all that. That level is the solar system level of the game.
Isn't in this build.
I mean, the tutorial in particular, which we're looking at now, is even more restricted, so there should be a few more buttons that you can press in the final thing. But like a lot of the content's not there.
As you can see, there's a lot of things going on in the world, or just like environmental stuff. So the camera right here is zoomed up far enough away where it's randomly catching that there's just some ships flying around in space doing random nonsense.
So you won't see much in terms of building trees. A lot of the interactions around fleets won't be accessible. So we'll have a little taste of what you can do with the fleet later on, but you won't have the full range of upgrades and selections and things that you can do there. There's a tech tree, which you can't see here. Again, we can talk about that a bit later.
Yes, the game does have tech trees. The game does have tech trees. The game does have tech trees.
Talk about the theatre and how that all ties together.
We are going to, Benson, feel free to continue on, because it's going to bring up our first talking point, moving around the planet.
Cool.
Firstly, I guess, you're going to have to fight this one. Before we fight this one, moving around the planet is a bit different.
Yes, so one of the big things about this Total Wars, we basically have had to build everything from the ground up, from scratch, right? This is an entirely new campaign model, and while that, had challenges, right? I think one of the first things I was doing was rewriting how you select things in the game, right? That's something we kind of had a basic. It's given us an opportunity to also look back at various stages of Total War and be like, well, what are the best elements of all of them? So in more recent Total Wars, you've had this quite granular free movement, which is, feels like, there's a lot of flexibility there, but it has lost something that we had in the older games, where you have this like more kind of board game-like, risk-like, district-based movement. And what we tried to do with this game is get a kind of best of both worlds, right? So while there's a kind of granularity within the map that's much higher than you would have found in Shogun 1 or Med 1, your detachments, which is what we call armies in this version, they still move between these kind of larger segments of space and control those areas of space, which means you no longer have to worry about, oh no, I can move 95% of the way to the settlement, but I can't quite make it. So it gets rid of a lot of fiddliness, and also makes it a lot easier to handle things like choke points and kind of do much kind of broad stroke strategic gameplay. So
helpful for the AI as well, right?
Yes, it definitely kind of reduces the amount of spaces that the AI needs to think about, but also makes it easier for you to understand what the AI can do, right? It's a lot easier to be able to predict where the AI will attack, which makes it a lot easier for you as a player to kind of plan out your strategy in advance.
And it's
They still move
Okay, hold on. I need to hear him
older
explain
games
that
where you
again.
have this like more kind of board game like risk-like district-based movement. And what we tried to do with this game is get a kind of best of both worlds, right? So while there's a kind of granularity within the map that's much higher than you would have found in Shogun 1 or Med 1, your detachments, which is what we call armies in this version, they still move between these kind of larger segments of space and control the devs of space, which means you no longer have to worry about, oh no, you know, I can move 95% of the way to the settlement, but can't quite make it. So it gets rid of a lot of fiddliness, and also makes it a lot easier to handle things like choke points and kind of do much kind of broad stroke strategic gameplay.
So helpful for the AI as well, right?
Yes, it definitely kind of reduces the amount of spaces that the AI needs to think about, but also makes it easier for you to understand what the AI can do, right? It's a lot easier to be able to predict where the AI will attack, which makes it a lot easier for you as a player to kind of plan out your strategy in advance.
So maybe.
Okay, so if I'm understanding that correctly, basically what they're saying is, unlike in Total War Warhammer, the Total War Warhammer and prior Total War games, where your movement is like you get 100 action points of movement, and every like itty bitty piece of distance counts as 1 point, so they all add up in points, which causes a lot of finagling when you're trying to move to spaces because you're measuring like the real distance per se. In this game, you have significantly this game, the movement is more focused on like major places you would actually want to get to. So the movement is less about what's the real world amount of space you're moving. It has more to do with what are the important things that you're trying to cross. So there's going to be less of the stupid stuff from like that a lot of people hate about like the Total War Warhammer games, for instance, where like the AI will be like 5% out of your movement range. So you'll try to like move onto the enemy and it's like, oh, you ran out of movement. Instead, it's basically just based on the zones. So this means that like if there's an enemy 2 zones away and you have 2 action points worth of movement, you will get to them. You don't have to worry about like, oh, I have 150 movement points and they're like kind of sort of close. Am I going to make it? So it's going to make movement a lot more straightforward about allowing you to know where you're going to be able to get to, have a good idea of where the AI is going to be able to get to. And it's going to remove a lot of the annoying jank that tends to be present in the older games and is going to make the movement systems a bit more predictable and less frustrating. Honestly, I do think it's a good change personally, especially like in the grander long scheme, because it's one of those things where like, oh, I want my movement to be like realistically based, but then I would say, no, I don't think you do, because it's not actually realistic as far as like there's not the actual detailed minutia of like, oh, well, if I move this way, I can like save this percentage of movement by like the Total War games aren't focused on that much focus of like, well, if I take 5 steps this way on this road, which allows me to use 100% of efficiency when moving, and then I move off road, so I go down to 90% efficiency, but then I'm going to cut through this forest, which takes me to 50% efficiency. And like that level of like realism can be good in some video games, but in this video game, the Total War series, I don't think it's good. And it's also going to make it where the system of interacting with the AI is just going to be much more straightforward, which is going to lead to much more interaction, which is good.
Fewer of those. I'm constantly just chasing them every turn.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Feel free to go into battle, Benson. And I believe we'll be trying to hot swap.
Yes. Cool. We'll do a little bit of a swap.
I mean, allegedly that might work, so you may want to.
Okay, so I believe they turn the cameras off for the battles, so we're going to skip that.
Familiar with the Dead Rise Again stuff with the vampire counts in one.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to come back a bit.
To like the
Our other Will that he's on stream, and me and Oscar will keep going. No, they can't. It's
okay,
fine.
sorry. Let me grab like the little super chat stuff that came in. Were you required to title it? I played Total War 40K. Zerk did the same thing. Also, thanks to the recent fantasy news coverage. Am I required to call it that? No. Do I think that having in the title "I played Total War 40K" is a good hook and is likely to get people to click on the video who otherwise might not have clicked on the video? Yes. Is this what I do for a living and I need to try and get people to click on stuff so that YouTube will pay me more than like pennies Also, yes. Is it an unfortunate realism of the market and scene? Also, yes. I think it's just a good grab for the title. It is true though. we both did play it. All right.
Will, we've got our other Will, there's too many Wills. We've got our single hot mic solution that we'll continue to work with. Before we move on from here, you will see there's deployed, lost, and remaining. An intentional kind of difference wording here of lost.
Is this like mentioned to like the injured stuff?
Yes.
I think probably Will is probably better placed because it's a campaign feature.
Well, we'll be going back to campaign,
I'm
so...
gonna let it
we'll
swap.
do the old one.
So, yes.
Feel free to end out, Benson.
Yeah, one thing that we're keen to do with Space Marines in particular is kind of represent how kind of resilient they are, right? They're super difficult.
Oh, actually, I do want to do a poll just for funsies. That might be doable. I don't really have a strong opinion on it one way or the other. But it's certainly not a bad idea. I'm just gonna call them Imperial Guard. I don't think that's their technical name anymore, but that's what I'm gonna call them. I know Games Workshop like changed all the names so that they could like copyright them, but I don't care. Games Workshop can sit on a fat one as far as I'm concerned. Grab that. Grab that. Grab that. And grab that. Alright, just curious. I'm just gonna give you all a poll to chew on while I'm doing
campaign,
this.
You're not gonna have very many of them, so it'd absolutely suck if they just all died randomly in battle.
There's no wrong answer. I'm actually genuinely curious on your thoughts. Don't type a number. It's not that kind of poll.
After in campaign, so it's a little bit kind of like if people are familiar with the Dead Rise Again stuff with the vampire counts in Warhammer. It's kind of a way for you to get a little bit of resilience in your units and keep going in battle.
Fantastic.
Wait, hold on, what was that?
In battle. Super difficult to recruit in campaign. You're not going to have very many of them, so it'd absolutely suck if they just all died randomly in battle. A Space Marine, entity or unit can be, wiped out in battle, but there's a small chance they'll kind of come back after in campaign.
Okay, that's super cool. That's super interesting. So what they're saying there, I actually didn't know this, so this is news to me. So they're saying that Space Marines are kind of like the undead or the demons in Warhammer Fantasy, which is very funny, unintentional, but hilarious. But basically, Space Marines, due to all of their hilarious bullshit, they have a small chance that when a Space Marine falls in battle, they're not actually dead. Instead, there is a chance that they might be saved and they will survive the battle with a very, very low amount of health. And then they will recover in following turns. So they have like the dead rise again mechanic. But this also likely means that depending on how you build your Space Marine chapter, which we'll talk more about later, but how you build your Space Marine chapter and how you choose to go through the tech tree, why did Automod catch that? That's super weird. When you go through, so whether through the tech tree or how you build your chapter, or like if you have like an apothecary in your army or whatever it may be, there are going to be systems that allow you to increase the odds of a Space Marine surviving even though they died in battle. And likely, like the vampire counts, there will be ways for you to increase the amount of health they start with when they come back. So like if you have a unit that's completely wiped out, instead of leaving the battle and they have like 5% of their total health returned to them, you might be able to get upgrades where they have like 10% of their maximum health, or 20% of their maximum health, etc., etc. Sorry to ask so late. What do you think about the fact that Warhammer 3 hasn't added a Slaanesh mechanic like Nurgle? Nurgle has a mechanic. What are you talking about? Slaanesh has the I'm gonna steal your baddies mechanic.
A little bit kind of like if you're familiar with the Dead Rise Again stuff
which is really, really good.
In Warhammer. It's kind of a way for you to get a little bit of resilience in your units and keep going in battle.
Fantastic. We will just now then move on to talking about customization. So what we are now is into our
Do you think Dawn of War has better mechanics? That's a really I love you. I love you, Captain Melons. I'm going to be really honest with you. And I'm saying this from a genuine place of love. That's a really dumb question because they are very different games. That's like asking, do I think Mario Party 2 is a better game than The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask? Like, it kind of depends on a lot of factors, brother. It just kind of depends. I don't think that's purely subjective as well. Also, it's gonna depend a lot on the how the new Dawn of War is. I will say that based on my very alpha experience of this game, I do, for me personally, I think so far Total War Warhammer 40k has more to offer me and the way that I like to play my games than Dawn of War 1 or 2 does. But those games are also quite old, and have not been iterated on in a really long time. So I don't know. All right. Oop, I missed a super chat there. Can you ambush in the regions? Is there an ambush mechanic? Yes. Is it in this build? No. So do I have many details about it? No. Can you also be in the same enemy as a region and not fight? I'm not 100% sure because this build did not allow us to recruit multiple armies.
A taste of the campaign.
No. No. Should I watch it? If y'all think I should watch it, we could potentially watch that on stream. I don't know what that's about. All right.
Pain. Oscar, just
okay. So let's talk about this.
Hello again.
Let us know if you can hear Oscar. They are saying they can hear tapping. Oh wow, we may have fixed the microphone.
That sounds good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Will. Feel free to depart. We're going to put ourselves.
Hold on, I'm going to let them rant for a second, and then I'll talk.
We can all be heard. Only took us half an hour. All right, so we've got a name system here, similar to others that they've seen. So there are limitations in what name you can pick.
Yes. Is that a question?
That is a question.
That's a question. Yes. I will answer that question. Yeah, so for various reasons, we wanted to kind of make sure that the names you're picking were at least somewhat in line with the lore. So you kind of pick from sets of pre-built combinations of words. However, there's a ludicrous variety. I think there's something like 17,000 combinations for Space Marines, and you can come up with some quite silly ones, and also some very edgelordy
also,
ones.
vote on that poll. I want to see y'all's opinions.
The streamers this morning, how they split between absurd.
Don't be lazy.
Edgy.
Yeah,
so,
the number of pink Marines was very high.
People either go pink or they go kind of black and red. I feel those are the two extremes.
Yes. We'll see if there's anyone in chat.
Black, gold, and red are prime colors.
So short, medium, and long. You can always be the something of something.
They're perfect.
Obviously, because you can make your own version of the Flesh Terrors. I find what's he called himself? Space Marines. Do you know what? Honestly, I quite like it.
One of my favourite is 1,000 Marines, just because it's just extremely descriptive of what a chapter is.
Star Children. Actually, do you know what, Benson? I really think you've done a good job here with Space Marines. Do you know what?
The Emperor.
Custom. This is the reason for that. The full customization that we're intending to have in at launch. This is a much more limited version. The reason for that is
you can get into here, but just for Gamescom, we're just giving you the kind of basic 3-color scheme. But even with that, you can do some pretty fun combos.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that we're missing here, so when you make your own custom chapter, it is more than just the colors, right?
Yes.
You're able to make a character.
Yes, so you'll have your warlord character, what we call them, who's your faction leader. You'll have some more kind of 3D customization options about how they look, as well as some kind of gameplay stuff about the loadout. And we will also allow for customization of faction traits.
Yes.
So you'll have a big suite of faction traits you can pick from, which have sometimes quite materially chunky impacts on your gameplay. So if you want to really lean into being a good boy Space Marine chapter who likes defending the weak, and you give all your territory back to the Imperium, you can pick traits that lean into that. Or if you want to be a bit of a rogue, a bit of a rascal, there'll be traits that support that playstyle as well.
So when you've made your faction, you've got colors, you've got traits, and you've made a character, and that is not just Space Marines.
Yes, all factions will have this full suite of customization options.
Fantastic. How are we looking, Benson? Benson, you collect.
Okay, this is a good. Okay, all right. So let me talk about this. The customization in this game is absolutely bonkers. It is incredibly bonkers. The customization is so over the top ridiculous. This barely scratches the surface of how stupid it gets. Of that, there was a sit down on a way long time ago. This was over a year ago. Version, and I've talked about this in the past. Where once again was over a year ago and was like early alpha. And I literally think I sat on customization for like an hour. Like, it was obnoxious how much there is. And just like they said, you are customizing colors, you're customizing emblems. This, I don't think, has all of the options for it, because like, if they gave everyone the options, people would have sat down for those 30-minute slots and they would have never played the game, because they would have spent the entire time customizing their shit, and then they would have immediately, like, they would have been like, oh, your time's up, you gotta leave, and they never even played the game. It is crazy, and it's for every faction. So it's not like the Space Marines have an hour's worth of customization for your faction, but everybody else doesn't. Everybody has it. And you design so you get the colors, and the colors can get crazy because it's not just like faction colors. You can like go in to like specific, there's something I'll point out a little later, but like you can go into like specific people within your faction. And the options are not just like, oh, you get your 3 faction colors. That's like where you start, is like, oh, what are your faction colors? But then you can go in and you're like, I want this color trim, and I want this color eyepiece, and I want this color helmet, and I want this color, like, it's horrific. In a good way, but it's horrific. It's like painting a mini. It feels like you're painting a mini. And it's for everybody. So, which is what they're talking about here, of that you could do it with the Guard, you could do it with the Space Marines, you could do it with the Eldar, you could do it with the Orcs. You make a faction leader, like they said, so you make your own guy, you build your own guy, and you figure out all their bells and whistles, and you paint them, and you do all this other crazy shit. And frankly, I have no idea what they're gonna add, like DLC-wise, for some of these factions, because it kind of feels like everything that I know of is in there already. Of like, I guess they're gonna add like new weapons and like model types, but like the amount of customization is absolutely fucking bonkers. Is starting a campaign with a custom chapter as just a captain for the demo only, or is that how it is? The demo version is like a fraction of the amount of options and things that you have the ability to play around with before going into a campaign, compared to what the actual game will probably be like based on what they're saying. How do name characters work? I have no idea. They haven't revealed that yet, so we don't know. We know that there are named characters in the game, but we don't know how to get them, because it seems like creating your own faction leader is like one of the core principal functions. Maybe there's like an option where you could go with like a pre-built version and you could start with like a character that's already known. Maybe they function like legendary heroes kinda, so maybe you can't start with them, but you acquire them in your campaign by like doing things. Maybe when you're selecting your faction traits, maybe one of the traits is you could be like, oh, well, I'm like Big Boy John Ultramarine, so I get Martius Calgar with me. Or I'm whatever the fuck that one orc dude is that they revealed, so I get him as a starting character, or who knows. It's gonna be interesting to see what all they're gonna do on that front. But you also, there are, sub-faction things. There are going to be presets. There are going to be presets for the color scheme, for traits, for all of that stuff. So, like, if you're like, oh, you know what? As much as I love customization, I just want to play the Charcaradons, or whatever the fuck the shark guys are called. If that's one of the options that the base game starts with, then you'll just be able to go to the presets and be like, I want to be the shark guys. And it'll just automatically set up everything so that, hey, you're the shark guys. Or like, hey, I just want to play Ultramarines. You could just select Ultramarines. Boom, you're ready to go. So Vorn says from an article that came out today, there are 3 options per faction at launch. for like presets, 2 established loreful subfactions, and 1 fully customizable subfaction. Okay, and we see in this build, it looks like the 2 loreful presets that will be for the Space Marines that we know of so far, because you can see them.
And I think that has become very apparent in the color scheme you've chosen.
Yeah. One thing to flag is, we're not
you can actually see them
like
somewhere in this build.
Icons, right?
Is that you could the presets that the game seems to come with are for the Ultramarines and the Salamanders, for the Space Marines.
The Dark Angels might have, but you can at least kind of LARP as them for a little while.
Okay.
So it sounds like if I'm understanding what Vorn is saying from the apparently a Korean article that came out today, you'll be able to. There will be 2 ready to go presets for each of the playable races that is based on something from the lore, and then you can just make your own shit up. How are they going to handle special subfaction units? We don't know yet. That will probably be handled in traits. So the way the game works is that when you're building a faction, you're building a subfaction, you get a certain amount of trait slots, and you fill in those slots with various traits that define how you're going to play. So I would assume, and this is an assumption, I want to make this really clear, this is me not saying how it works, this is me guessing how it works, but what I would guess is one of the traits that you'll have is, are you related to one of like the major chapters? So if you're like, oh, I want to be a salamander boy. I want to be a salamander boy, and I want to have access to the unique salamander units. One of the traits would be that you're a salamander founded chapter. So, or whatever, however you would say that. And so that would probably come with some effects where it's like, okay, you have bonus to flamethrowers, and you also start with access to units that are known to be part of the salamanders. You start with access to them right off the bat, rather than needing to unlock them through the tech tree or however the fuck else it works. Does that make sense?
Anything else we want to say about customization before we move on? No? I guess the only other thing being customization, you'll see it on the campaign map, you'll see it in battle. One of the limitations for our Gamescom demo here is you will not see them represented in the unit cards.
Yes.
The unit cards will still look very blue.
Yes,
Move on.
Okay, and this is something they talked about that I want to reiterate, is that for the customization, it will show up everywhere in the game. So like whatever you customize your faction colors and your emblem and all that to be, that'll show up on your units, that'll show up on like your vessels and the things that you see on the campaign map that represent you. You'll see that on like potentially settlements and bases that represent you. The only place that it doesn't seem to be represented, at least yet, is in the unit cards, because apparently there's some sort of notable tech limitation with that. They're trying to make it where that will be there for launch, but it's possible that when launch arrives, that it might end up on the cutting room floor, in which case the unit art would just be like the standard basic bitch colors, which in the case of Total War Warhammer is going to be Ultramarine colors. But as far as like seeing your guys in battle or on the campaign map or anything, they will be in your colors and in your scheme and yada, 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 yada.
Fantastic. So now I think will actually be a better example of what we were trying to talk about before with the region moving.
Yes.
So we'll show that first. But before we do, once we're loaded in, I don't know if there's a little cutscene here.
Yes, there is. So I guess we can watch that.
I'm going to skip that because we'll watch that later.
Watch a slice of.
Okay, I want to answer this specific note from Torque Von Thorn. He says, "Hi, so Tech Chat. I was very disappointed by the fast pace of that battle. They're marketing the game to tactics fans." Okay, so here's the thing you need to keep in mind. This is a tutorial. This is a tutorial demo of the game that is on an early alpha build that is designed for people that have never played a Total War game in their life to be able to walk up and play the game and hopefully win while also doing all of the other shit around it in less than 30 minutes. So it is like a very specific set of parameters that are meant to happen in a very limited amount of time. And the orcs that everyone is fighting is a very early, deliberately stupid AI that is designed to just run at you. So I would say if you're looking at this build and you're like, oh, I want to judge how hard the game looks, you're wasting your time. This is not what this is for. This is meant to give people that have never touched the game before in their life a hands-on moment to play the game and get a feel for it and see what they're trying to do with it. This is not a difficulty tester. It's a fucking demo. It's a demo. It's not meant to demonstrate difficulty. That will come later. It is very likely that when you are playing the campaign and you decide to play it on legendary difficulty, it's probably going to be a lot harder and the battles will probably take a lot longer. I would guess they will probably be a minimum of 10 minutes unless you have like an absolute doom stack and you're just obliterating everything at a distance. In which case, that was your choice. But hopefully they will design the AI to like deal with that. All right. Wow, most people are excited to play Astra Militarum, at least over on YouTube, followed by Eldari, Orcs, and then Space Marines. Interesting. That's actually very interesting. Yeah, League of Votan will be fun.
We'll see what we have to deal with on this planet.
Do I think Jinx Codes will be in before 2030? Yes.
And in the system.
Well, what? That's 3 years? Yeah, that seems likely.
Again, this is like a small slice of what you would see on a whole planet. This is, this is like 2 to 3 large regions split up into, I think, a total of about 14 to 15 districts. That's probably about, 10% of what you see on like an actual full planet.
Yep. Are all planets the same size?
No, we have a mix. Not only just because of the physical size, but also regions split up into, I think, a total of about.
Okay, fantastic. So that's a bit of a mood setter for this Gamescom demo, right? Welcome to our slice of the campaign. So we'll be the Space Marines here.
Yes.
As we were in the previous.
And yeah, I do want to stress this is very much a slice of campaign. If James zooms out a bit, we'll see what we have to deal with on this planet.
And in the system.
Well, I was going to talk about the planet first, but let's talk about the planet first. So again, this is like a small slice of what you would see on a whole planet. This is, like 2 to 3 large regions split up into, I think, a total of about 14 to 15 districts. That's probably about, 10% of what you see on like an actual full planet.
Yep. Are all planets the same size?
No, we have a mix. Not only just because of the physical size, but also in terms of the number of regions and districts you would find on each one. And they also have quite different biomes, quite different world types. This, I think, is like a wastes world.
Yep.
So it's got these kind of really gross, grungy, toxic pools and funky-looking trees and stuff. And each one of them is hand-authored, right? So the actual kind of layouts are all done by our design team, so each one of them should feel really unique. And then we have a lovely layer of kind of procedure-generated art on top that kind of fills in all the gaps with trees and stuff. So it allows us to iterate and make cool maps really, really quickly and do fun stuff.
Okay, so a couple important things about the planets. The planets are able to... you are able to look around the entire planet. So every planet, you can 360 them. That sounded weird, but I'm going to stick with it. Not all of them, not for all the planets, not all of the planets will be entirely playable. Some of them you'll be playing over a larger part of the planet. Some of them you'll be playing over a smaller part of the planet. It'll depend on the planet in question, how important it is to the solar system you're in, what's the size of the planet. It just depends on a lot of different factors. I also think this is probably something they're still hemming and hawing around a lot about, because once again, this is an early alpha. Because, like, I could see the argument that, like, we see here that there is, like, a large continent over here, which is not interactable with in this particular version. But there's also, like, this interesting white dotted line here. I don't know. I have no idea if this is intended to be a... hey, once you like take over this area, maybe there's ways for you to like use a teleporter or ships or ocean vessels or whatever, and you're able to go across and then you start fighting over here. That might be possible. That might not be possible. I have no idea. It's too early to say.
That kind of fills in all the gaps with trees and stuff. So it allows us to iterate and make cool maps really, really quickly and do fun stuff. And yeah, if you want to zoom out the whole map.
Are those ships reflecting the colours that he selected?
They should be, yes.
It looks it. Yeah, should we zoom?
Yeah, the ships are cool. I look forward to them showing off more about the ships. I'm not going to say much more than that because I don't know how much has changed and I don't want to get in trouble, but the ships are really, really cool.
Map to the system?
Yeah, so this is an example of a kind of normal-sized campaign map. So you'll see there are not all of these planets things you can land on. You can't land on the gas giant. That'd be a really bad idea. But you would have, say, like, 3 to 4 kind of.
But what if I want to land on the gas giant?
And that would be the kind of full extent of your campaign.
So generally what you see here is that all the planets will have names. Some of them you can land on, some of them you can't. Some of them are just barren hellholes where there's literally nothing of value, so there's no reason to go there. Some of them, like you said, are gas giants that might be pretty much impossible to land on. You'll also, but it seems, once again, I'm not sure about this, I'm guessing here, but it seems like the planets that have these little white rings around them that are interactable, I believe if they have the interactable ring, that means that's a planet you can go to and you can land on and you can fight and yada yada yada.
Do we talk about the
Playing 3 times the I have no fucking idea what's going on with space battles. Listen. Okay, listen. I want to be really fucking clear about this. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen with space battles. I hope they're able to pull off space battles. I feel like that's kind of going to be a really sticky situation because in order to have space battles, you would need to design different vessels for every single faction. And there are a good number of factions, so that is a lot of work. There's also the possibility that when you're dealing with Games Workshop, space battles technically would fall under a different license because they would fall under it theoretically would fall under the Battlefleet Gothic license, which means that if Creative Assembly wants to do space battles, they might have to go to Games Workshop and say, hey, can we do space battles? And Games Workshop will say, well, no, because space battles are part of the Battlefleet Gothic IP. So if you guys want to do space battles, you've got to buy the rights for Battlefleet Gothic in order to put space battles in your Total War Warhammer campaign. So then they had to say, oh, okay, we don't want to pay you for an entirely separate license that's only going to make up a fraction of the game we're going to make. So in that case, there would be no space battles. That's kind of what happened to us in Total War Warhammer, the fantasy game. But admittedly, there are more fantasy factions, a lot more fantasy factions than there are 40k factions in like the grand scheme of things, because in 40k realistically 40k doesn't actually have that many factions. It's really just Space Marines and like a bunch of different trench coats assaulting people in dark alleyways for more color schemes, but that's not actually a new faction. That would require like completely unique assets most of the time. So maybe 40k can get away with it because they wouldn't have to do as much as they would for like fantasy, for instance. But I don't know. We're gonna have to see how that ends up.
We love putting more layers in our game. So each of these campaigns will fit into a larger map, which we call the theatre, the Crusade Theatre. And that's effectively an interconnected series of campaigns, each of which is integrally connected to what's happening in the previous ones, right? So the text that you research in this campaign, you can wrap up this campaign, you can complete your objectives. That's a nice kind of a point where you might wrap up for the weekend. But then your next campaign that you fight in the Crusade Theatre, you'll have those same texts. The units that all ranked up will have the same ranks. The characters that you pick skills for will have the same skills. You'll probably get like a reward for completing this campaign, or potentially not just the next campaign, but all the campaigns in the theatre, right? Yep. If this campaign was themed around rescuing a major armaments factory, winning that campaign might mean that all future campaigns in the theatre, you get increased better weapons, better tanks, and stuff like that.
And how many campaigns can I expect to play in a theatre?
So the theatre is around 10-ish campaigns total. You won't need to go through all of them to win. They culminate in a big final campaign at Armageddon. So that's the kind of end goal of all of this. It's all the factions are fighting over Armageddon. But really, it's up to you how many of these you want to do along the way. If you're feeling really elite, you can just kind of blast through and do it in 2 or 3. And we'll actually the turn counter will stay consistent over the whole theatre. So I think a fun challenge that maybe some of our streamers want to do is how many turns can they complete the theatre in.
And we'll probably see how many, as in the max and the minimum, right?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, fantastic. So really.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay. So I'm gonna re-explain what he just said because I think it's gonna go over a lot of people's heads. And it's actually very, very cool, but also really, really weird. So the way this game works is not like a lot of other Total Wars. Not like any of the other Total Wars, to be frank. So what he just talked about is that when you play a traditional Total War campaign, whether it's Shogun 2 or Rome or whatever, Warhammer, what have you, in those games, you would start a campaign, you will play the campaign, you will finish the campaign or quit early because you're playing Karl Franz for the billionth time and you don't want to deal with long victory conditions because they haven't updated the new conditions yet, which will make it a lot more exciting. But regardless, you finish the campaign, you're done, that's it. You start a new campaign, you do that ad infinitum so long as you're having fun. That is not how this game works. In this game, there is a thing called a theater of war. And a theater of war is like a level up here. And the theater of war has, what he said, roughly 10 campaigns inside of it. And you as the player will choose which of these 10 campaigns you're going to go do. And you're going to go off and you're going to play this campaign. So what we're seeing here, this solar system would be campaign 1. And campaign 1 is probably roughly the size of a normal Total War campaign, depending on various circumstances. So you go over here, you take over, you take over a bunch of planets, you kick the ass of a bunch of orcs, you chew ass, eat booty hole, whatever. And after that's all wrapped up, you win the campaign. Congratulations, you won the campaign. You go back to the theater of war level. On the theater of war level, those 10 campaigns have now become 9 campaigns. And because you won this campaign, you will get a reward that you will take with you into your next campaign, or potentially all of the other campaigns in that theater of war. Plus, it as if your campaign continues going. So you keep all of your units, you keep all of your tech tree upgrades, you keep all of the characters you've unlocked, you keep all of the levels, so all of your characters are the same level, all of your units are the same level, all of the upgrades you've purchased for your various fleets and ships are the same, and now you go down to the next campaign, which is going to be a different scenario in a different solar system with different settings and perhaps a different enemies who might be harder or less hard depending on what you're doing and what's going on. And you're going to be running around doing as many of these as you can, winning and losing where you can. And then that will build up to, you don't have to do all 10 of them, but you'll do a certain amount of them within a certain time frame. And at the end of that theater, there will be a great big finale. And in the sake of this example, the finale that he gives is that the theater of war you would be theoretically doing is the Armageddon theater. So at the big finale of this theater, you would do a big final battle or something like that that happens on the planet Armageddon or within the Armageddon system or whatever. And that determines who wins the theater is what he's talking about. So there's like another level of interaction. Now, I know there's a lot of questions of, okay, say I win this campaign and go back to the theater. On the next campaign, can I play a different race? I have no idea. Let's say I win this one, and I go back here and I go over here. Can I make like a new chapter of the same race? I have no idea. We don't know yet. They haven't told us that much info.
We've got a campaign within a campaign now as well.
Yeah, so the overall theatre experience is by a long way the biggest kind of combined like gameplay experience we've ever done in Total War, right? Like it is, effectively multiple Mortal Empires stapled together.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I will say this. I would guess that each theater is its own experience and you design a faction for that theater. So like, let's say you do the Armageddon theater. Oops, hold on. I have a missed phone call. Oh, they're home. Okay. Un momento. Sorry about that. All right. So let's say you start a theater, right? And let's say it's the Armageddon theater. So you start the Armageddon theater and you're like, I'm going to play Space Marines. So you play Space Marines. I'm going to play this Space Marine chapter that I customize. So you make that custom Space Marine chapter. I would assume that you are intended to play through that entire theater experience as that Space Marine chapter. And that's it. But I would also assume that you can go back out and start a new theater campaign at any time, just like you would start a new campaign at any time. And on that new theater, you could say, you know what, I'm going to play Orcs this time, or I'm going to play Eldar this time. Now, maybe they would allow players to say like, oh, you know what? In this theater, I'm gonna do this one is Space Marines, this one is Orcs, this one is Eldar, blah blah blah, and like maybe you can do that. But I have no idea how that would work. But that is all the other stuff. No, Zero, yeah, that's not what I said. I did not say you needed to use your big fleet. I said that you cannot just casually jump from planet to planet super easily, that you will need to use things like fleets, including the small fleets, but there may also be later game things that you're able to build and unlock, like potentially teleporters, or maybe there will be natural phenomena on the planet, but like you're not able to just right click move to like walk to another planet. There are methods you will need to use to get from one planet to another. Can you lose the theater? Can the AI invade you? I have no idea. I hope so. Can you go back to previous theaters and still deal with stuff? I don't know. I hope so, because that would be really cool.
We've broken it in such a way that if you want to just play, for a few hours on a weekend and tick some stuff off and feel you completed something, you still have the opportunity to. So it's really kind of best of both worlds.
Awesome. We have so many questions. A lot of those questions I can see will be answered as we get through them. So to start off, let's reiterate again about the changes to regions. Now it's a little bit more obvious.
Yes.
I believe, Bedson, you're able to move. Is it the optimal thing for you to move here? There's the Land Raider event, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah. So each of these kind of sort of triangular shaped things, you can just see highlighted here. That's what we call a district. So that's an area of movement. So that's effectively the space that James's Marines are controlling now. So anyone who tries to enter that who's an enemy, they will have to fight him. And that's almost like his zone of control.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to capture the whole region, he'd have to go to the region capital, which is where you can see that nice big building with the icon. So that's effectively your capital settlement. So there's lots of positioning and positional gameplay you can do on the way. It's not like you just jump from capital to capital.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff you do.
Okay, so this hopefully will answer. I saw a question, someone asking this earlier, so I'll answer this. Of that, every province, essentially, there's a bunch of different regions. Only one army, or two separate factions cannot share a region if they are enemies. If an Orc army moves into the same region as a Space Marine army, they must fight. However, if you are in a neighboring region in the same province, then you are not there won't be a fight. And then I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe that there are reinforcement ranges, and that's probably something you're able to mess with in your faction traits or your tech tree and all that stuff. There might be ways to extend your reinforcement range, so instead of just being like the next region over, maybe it's like 2 regions or 3 regions, or maybe like it's the entire province of the province that you're in. So there's all that stuff. Can you make your faction leader a psyker? I think you can. Like, I think you have a pretty serious amount of customization. I don't know though. Maybe? Possibly?
On the way. So we have a nice kind of mix of granularity and clarity.
Which is something we've seen players talking about they don't want it to just be hopping between settlements and making sure a planet feels big, right? Like this space.
Oh yeah, and then to take over a province, you have to go to the capital. So you won't be taking over like region by region. Instead, you move into enemy regions where they will likely have defenses that will deal damage to you or slow you down or fuck with you. And you have to slug your way over to the capital where you will fight a big battle. And if you win, you take control of that entire province.
Speaking of space, fleet interaction. So we have said there won't be naval battles, as in you're going in and you're playing a little RTS, but they're at least for launch. But there are still ways to interact with the fleet. It's a very important part of the experience.
Yeah, so that kind of interrelation between the fleet and the ground forces is kind of pivotal to a lot of our kind of gameplay design. Right, it's a really kind of interesting space. It's very unique to this game compared to previous Total Wars. So your fleet is able to provide bombardments. It's able to drop these things called deployables. So Space Marines, for example, they can't replenish on the ground. Right, you can't just walk up to the local village and turn people into Space Marine, right? They have to come from other places. But what you can do is your fleet can drop a little kind of medical supply crate, your detachment can then walk up to that, pick it up, and then heal that way. So there's a real kind of integral connection, especially for Space Marines, between the fleet and the land gameplay.
And the fleet's going to be about how I'm getting between the planets, I assume?
Yes, of course. So any detachment can call in a transport fleet, and they can fly off. But you will have this kind of big central fleet that acts as the kind of main kind of pivotal point around which those will need to move. Right? Like if you try and send your transport fleets to push past the enemy main fleet, they're not going to last very long.
Yep.
They're going to go crashing down from the surface of the planet. Some of them might survive, but it's not going to be a good ending for you.
Okay, so to TLDR that, for Space Marines cannot just replenish dead troops on the ground. They need to have reinforcements come from their fleets because Space Marines are very difficult to make. The fleets are a very integral part of the game. They will have a lot of abilities that you are able to unlock, a lot of abilities you're able to research and build. Though different factions' fleets will have different capabilities. So like the Space Marine fleets are able to send out, so all the fleets in the game are not only to do things like send down reinforcements, but they can also drop essentially like items or deployables onto the planet, which then you can move your armies into those regions to go get them. So for instance, the example they gave is you could have like a Medicaid type thing, like a medical supply situation that will allow you to resurrect dying or like dead Space Marine models, and you fire that down to the planet that lands in a region, hopefully safely, and then your army would run over to that region and pick it up.
Fantastic. Well, we're on the second page. A few of the other things. Oh, do you want to talk about what Benson's
also, you're able to do bombardments. There are also fleet-to-fleet interactions. So, like, if you have a fleet and the orcs have a fleet, there are abilities where your fleet will fuck with their fleet by, like, shooting things at them or disrupting them, or there's a bunch of stupid shit you can do.
So James is now looking at the recruitment screen. Space Marine units, like I said, they're very expensive. You should not be recruiting lots of them.
Space Marines are hella fucking expensive. They are so expensive.
20 units in them, right? That's not how Space Marines function.
Space Marines are probably the most hyper elite faction that has ever been put in a Total War game. Like, god damn, there are so few of them, and they are so goddamn expensive. But you do get your money's worth out of them. They do be fucking spooky.
Working with the local Aspect Harlem, the local Planetary Defense militias, while you're using these very small elite forces that are extremely powerful, but also extremely valuable.
Will there be gene seed harvesting operation after a battle? That will probably be something like a tech tree, or that might be some kind of effect you get maybe if you have an apothecary in your army. I would imagine that is a thing, but I imagine you probably have to unlock it somehow. Will there be siege battles? I have no idea.
The questions I just saw of what you were talking about earlier. Can you have multiple fleets? Can you have armies on multiple planets?
You can have armies on multiple planets, yes. So you'll only have one main fleet, but you can have multiple transport fleets.
Yeah, so you can only have one big fleet. So like you can only, if you're playing as Space Marines, at least you can only have one super fleet where all of like your big boys are, like where you're recruiting Space Marines and you can like bombard the planet, do all this other stuff, but you are able to create smaller fleets that can do other things. So you might be able to create a smaller fleet that's a transport fleet and will take your troops from one planet to another planet. Or maybe you can create a small fleet of like fighters that could go support a planet, which might give you access to the army abilities where you call down the flying units like the Thunderhawks and shit, and they do the drive-bys where they like blow up a bunch of shit across the ground. But there's only one capital fleet, at least for the Space Marines.
So any detachment can call in a little transport beacon, and then in a couple of turns, a fleet will come pick them up and just buy off. So you can
I don't, dude. Custodians are gonna have like single digits per unit. It's gonna be like 5 guys in a unit, maybe.
Campaign, but you can do that should you so desire. Another fun thing. So I mentioned.
Are there siege battles? I don't know. There might. I have no idea if there are siege battles.
There's a little example of one of them here. There's a little crash.
Can armies be marooned on planets? Yes. If you have an army on a planet and you do not have a transport fleet, because like your transport fleet got... So planets, they talk about this a little later in the stream. Planets can have their own defenses. So like if you're the orc player and you control a planet, you can build buildings that are like these giant super mega cannons. And if an enemy fleet comes into orbit, if your fleet's in orbit, your fleet will attack their fleet, but also all of those guns on the world will go pop, 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 and they'll start shooting up at that fleet. And if that fleet blows up, the Space Marines on it will fall to the planet, and they will take a shitload of damage. They probably won't all die. Some of them will probably live, but they will take a lot of damage, and they are completely fucking stranded until another fleet shows up to pick them up, or they have some sort of ability or something that they can find to get off planet. They are fucked and they are stuck there, which can absolutely happen.
Land raider in this district. What will happen? Land Raiders, for those not familiar with them, are these super powerful ancient tanks. They aren't something you can just roll up a factory.
What is your favorite thing about Warhammer 40k? The amount of customization. The customization you have for not only like one of the best army painters I have ever seen. I cannot reiterate that the army painter y'all have seen for this demo is like the baby basic bitch version that was put there because if they did anything more complex, people would never have played the game because they would have used their entire 30-minute time slot just on the army customizer. The army customizer that I got to mess with over a year ago was so fucking bonkers. It makes the Dawn of War 1? It was Dawn of War 1, right? I don't remember the Dawn of War 2 one as well. I can't remember which game it was. Whatever Dawn of War had a really good army customizer, it makes that one look like shit. Like, it makes that one look so lame in comparison, which it should, because that one's like 20 years old. The faction customization, not just the color schemes and all of that other shit, but stuff they haven't even told y'all yet, because it's not just an army painter. It is a how you play the game customizer. That thing is bonkers. It's bonkers. And the biggest shame is that you're probably not going to get to see it until next year, I would guess.
It's a pretty big deal. Fortunately, they're so durable. If you happen to lose one in battle, the wreckage will still be there on the campaign map. You can go there and you can put a little action to kind of pick it up and get in your army. So, James, do that now. Boom, we got a Land Raider.
Even if they don't make Custodes a full faction, I hope they make them recruitable. I would be surprised if anything that is a faction in tabletop is not made into a faction in Total War Warhammer 40,000. So, like, if Custodes is a standalone tabletop faction, then they will probably be a standalone Total War Warhammer 40,000 faction. Or maybe it'll be like Agents of the Imperium, I guess, where it's like Custodes, Sisters of Silence, random mother gobbledygook. I have no idea.
Game that we used to have in previous Total Wars, right? In Med 2.
Yeah. If it's okay, if the beta is this year, which the beta should be this year, actually, it'll be in the beta. It'll be in the beta.
And we're bringing back a lot of that kind.
Would you say it's comparable to Age of Wonders 4 type customization? Age of War 4, comparable, yes, but different
stuff as well. So Ashminotaur in particular, as they go around, they'll be building little artillery bastions that will like automatically shoot at anyone who enters their zone of influence. They can build a Deathstrike missile launcher that can be used to fire missiles to the other side of the planet.
Not to King Shame, but Black Templars, really? Oh, Black Templars.
Interact with
Black Templars, the ultimate, like, if someone's like, Black Templars are my favorite, you have to vibe check them with the, why are they your favorite, though?
Grab my head. So someone was saying it looks like there's not as many options, and that is because there is a lot of the campaign elements have been stripped out of this for this demo.
Yes.
Right?
Once again, I cannot reiterate how simplified this demo is. There are so many features that are already in the alpha of the game, but for the sake of making sure that people could play all of this experience and be done in only 30 minutes, they had to strip a lot of stuff out. Like, I am critical of certain aspects of the game. I'm really curious about y'all's thoughts on this. I don't know how I feel about no ammo. I don't know how I feel about that. Because, like, in tabletop, you don't have ammo, right? Like, that's not something you have to worry about. And in a game that is supposed to be so heavily focused on the power fantasy of just like obliterating armies with hysterical amounts of shooting, having no ammo seems like a good idea. But on the other hand, I kind of like the limitations and the difficulties that come with ammo, and like the, oh shit, I'm running out of ammo and now I've got to like run in and beat people to death with my melee weapons. But I don't know. I have really mixed feelings about it.
That you would find in the full game, so like the full building trees, the full fleet upgrade trees, the full tech tree, they're not visible here, but they are there. The tech trees, for example, because the tech trees extend over the course of the entire Crusade Theatre experience, right?
Sunstrike has ammo and it drastically slows down the gameplay.
Black Pyramid tech tree that we had in Warhammer 3, that is just wait until you see the architecture.
Yeah.
It's full like chaotic, massive, sprawling stuff. So there's going to be lots of options. Depending on who you're playing as, you'll have those options in different places. Like Space Marines aren't really big on building so much on planets, but they do have this whole fleet upgrade system, which is unique to them. So they will have a very kind of intricate way of upgrading their fleets that wouldn't be available to Astra and Tara, but Astra and Tara might have more options to build on the ground.
Okay, so this is something I genuinely kind of like about this game. Something that I genuinely like about this game is that all of the factions play wildly different when it comes to how do they build and expand. So like as Space Marines, you barely ever will build anything on the surface of a planet. Like it is incredibly rare that you will end up building something on the surface of a planet. Like maybe you'll build like, I don't know, like a fortress monastery or something, but that'll be like one per system unless like you are someone that's spec'd really hard into building on planets. But you're like very rarely ever going to build on planets. Instead, Space Marines are kind of like a classic Total War Horde army where all of their like crazy, like your hardcore investment building and all that stuff is up on your fleet. So like your great mighty battle cruiser, whatever the fuck it's called, your big giant super ship, is where you're going to be building the vast majority of your goodies.
So someone was asking,
and you're going to be upgrading the fuck out of it.
So dependency is an interesting one, right? Because
so you're more wandering around supporting elements of the Imperium's infrastructure. So like you're going to be working hand in hand a lot with the Imperial Guard as like who are like the native government of the planet you're on, if that makes sense.
And much more kind of contextual, right? So even though you might never formally make peace with the orcs, there might be scenarios where both of you are happening to fight the same person, who, might be even more evil from the orcs, sort of thing. So in those cases, you might temporarily reinforce each other, even though you're still at war with each other. So for the course of that battle, you won't be fighting each other, but once you're back on the campaign map, you'll be fighting. We've also have a lot of kind of nice tactical options for Space Marines when they interact with Astra and Tara, for example, or planetary governors. Really nice crunchy things like, as a Space Marine, you can walk up to like a planetary militia unit, army, and say, follow me.
Yep.
And they will follow you.
That's
like not in their turn, in your turn, they will follow you around, and when you fight a battle, they'll join you in. So you have these kind of really cool tactical options that allow you to manipulate.
Yeah, so I have no fucking idea how diplomacy is going to work in this game. I have no idea how diplomacy is going to work in this game, because 40k is a very different beast than fantasy when it comes to like the what if scenarios. Even in a sandbox, it's very weird. But what they just talked about is that they are going to have the system from like Total War Warhammer, where if you are fighting an enemy and they have the enemy of my enemy is my friend scenario system. So like let's say you're attacking an Eldari fortress, or no, let's say you're attacking an orc fortress. So you're attacking this giant orc fortress and there's another orc army on the other side of that fortress or like nearby that is also at war with those orcs. Then in that battle, those other orcs will show up as your reinforcements. So they will like come in on the map and be like, oi, 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 and like join in the fight, and they will be your allies in the battle. Even though back on the campaign map, you are technically still at war with them. But like you're able to work together against a mutual foe, which is fun. That's fine. The other thing that they just said, which yes, is that so when you're dealing with like the AI Imperial Guard on the planet, you are able to walk up to Imperial Guard garrisons and be like, hey, you're with me. And they will essentially abandon their garrison and follow you. And those are your troops. So those are your troops that you take with you across that planet to go fight.
Square that are using diplomacy.
Yep.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, you go.
Yeah. Another example here is the governors. You can see in the bottom left.
That's actually what I was just about to
There
ask.
we go. I knew it. So every...
Yeah, so then you got the planetary governors, which this is something I actually missed when I was playing. I didn't click on this. You can also see the planet population, which this one has 45 billion people. I don't like on just a singular world. Holy moly, I would not want to live there. Talk about overcrowding. But they have traits. So there are things that they might like, things that they might not like.
It will have like a slightly quirky governor character who's in charge of that planet,
So this guy has the fanatic keyword and the chieftain keyword. So fanatic is that he's an enthusiastic member of the ecclesiarchy. Chieftain means that he holds true to the tradition of his ancestors. And you can see here, this would be your diplomacy of how he feels about you. So in this case, he admires them. There's 4 billion people in just that planet. Jesus Christ!
All factions will react to things you do in the world. So everyone has an attitude towards you.
Bro, the 40k universe it's fucked, man. Just let the Tyranids eat it. 45 billion people in just a singular like province. Nah, dude. Nah, dude. Just eat them all. Eat them all. It's the only way. It's the only way. If they've gone too far, for the love of God, put them out of their misery.
In particular, are a little bit capricious.
So here you can see you're getting renown every turn. Your directives cost is...
and they don't tend to like it when you mess around on their planet. But they're all good for personalities, right? So you might find a governor who really loves industry. Like, he loves his trains, for example. So if you go on his planet and you start bombing all of his trains and his industrial factories, he's going to get really pissed off at you, and he's not going to want to support you, and he's not going to give you access to some diplomatic actions that you would have with that governor. However, you might have a governor who's a complete psychopath, and he actually loves it when you kill anyone, even his own citizens on his planet. So when you're blowing up his factories, he might be like, hey, cool, I love that. So there's always opportunities for kind of like fun, weird storytelling with the governors, where it's a kind of another version of diplomacy, but in line with how this IP works.
Yes. And is the attitude log something we can click to show?
Yeah, probably won't be anything in there. No,
nothing in there.
When you do things, that is going to plus or minus with the governor.
The kind of things that you...
So I do like that. So this is functionally, you have diplomacy with the planets. So every planet will have its own little factions that are sitting on it, and you will have diplomacy with them, where your actions, they will either like you or hate you, depending on the actions that you take while you're interacting with them and on their planet. And the more they like you, the more they will support you. But the more that you piss them off, the more difficult they're going to make your life.
Done, right? So it's a kind of it's got a fun game of like working out what the governor likes.
And here we can see that you have edicts. So the 4 edicts that they have in the demo are tithes. So you're able to you get aid from them, whether they like it or not. Greenskin purge, so the local populace focuses on joining in the fight against the greenskins. Construction edict, focus the local population on construction efforts, so like bonuses to construction. And then battle logistics, this will make detachments of Imperial Guard troops that are fighting alongside you more effective.
Yep.
We also have these edicts, which are you working with more kind of continent level authorities to get things.
So you can see here that battle logistics helps with unit conversion cost, influence.
We also have these edicts.
The construction lowers the construction cost on minor region upgrades, and also, but it lowers your influence. So by having these active, your influence is going down. So you're kind of like upsetting them. You're getting them upsetty spaghetti because you're telling them what to do, but you get buffs out of it. Tides causes your suspicion to go up. So suspicion is not good. Suspicion basically means that everyone's like, what the fuck is that guy doing? He's acquiring a lot of power to himself. So this one doesn't cost you influence. Instead, this one costs you suspicion. So it makes you more suspicious, but you get bonus money. So basically this is taxing them, but everyone's like, why the fuck are they taxing us? And then Greenskin Purge, this increases the fighting, or this lowers the fightiness of greenskins on the planet because they're getting cold, but it's once again lowering your influence because you're forcing people to go out of their homes and die fighting against greenskins.
Level authorities to get things done. We've actually recently changed the continent fees, so these are a bit old. But they would be things like, for example, making sure that all the workers are working extra overtime.
Yep.
And if they refuse, then they go to become servitors or whatever. So you have a little bit more kind of political control, but that's going to be spending that influence resource, which kind of governs your ability to manipulate other factions in the world. If you want to be doing that kind of thing, you need to be...
Did I see the new Deathmaster gameplay? No! We'll watch that at the end of this stream.
They're asking just for, as a recap then, what is it like to start a campaign?
It will depend a lot on what campaign you're starting. But that's one of the great things about having these multiple different... I guess Crusade Theatre,
yeah.
I guess is the question. So if we think about trying Crusade Theatre, which is that campaign of campaigns, you would have a campaign which you start in, every faction is a starting campaign, and you would go straight into that. So this is, something like this is very much like the first thing you would see after choosing your faction or building your custom faction. You go straight into your first campaign. When you finish that, that's when you kind of zoom out to the Crusade Theatre layer, and you'll effectively see like a sort of node map of all these different star systems connected by like space lanes and stuff. And then it's up to you, like which order you proceed through those on your journey towards Armageddon.
I will have a follow-up question for you on that. But before I see that, I see a lot of people asking about other features of stuff like co-op campaign, multiplayer battles. We're not going to talk about those at the moment, but we will talk about those. There's still a lot of tech being worked out in the background. We will come back and we will have those discussions. I don't want you to feel like we're ignoring you. I do see it. We just don't have anything at the moment to be able to give solid information about.
Yeah, the Theaters of War, I'm going to be honest with y'all. The Theaters of War mechanic, I kind of feel like is going to be the make or break aspect of this game for a lot of people. Like if it's a really good mechanic, if it feels really fun and good to be fighting across these gigantic theaters that are taking you from solar system to solar system, and it's kind of like a roguelike, so you have like elements rolling over between your campaigns, so you're taking units and characters with you, and it's like this really nice progression system. If that works and it feels good, then this will probably be one of the most popular games of all time. Because the sheer amount of gameplay you're going to be able to get out of that is going to be horrifically monstrous in a good way. If it sucks and it's not fun and you're not able to do a lot of the things you want to do and it doesn't feel like it's telling an enjoyable narrative, I really feel like it's going to threaten the longevity of the game. I think regardless, this game's going to make like $1 gajillion. But I'm really, really, really curious to see how that plays
the
out.
Infrastructure and systems there.
There's another space movie feature on the screen here I can talk about.
Go for it.
So if Benson was already moving in the right direction, it's what he knew. So one of the
Okay, this is really, really cool. I'm gonna tell Will to shush, and I'm gonna talk over him. So I missed this on my personal playthrough. So this is the Imperium reputation. So basically the way this works is you have two different meters that fill up as you do things throughout the campaign. You have suspicion and you have renown. Suspicion you gain from basically pissing people off and acquiring more and more power. So the more powerful and bigger and nastier and stronger you become as a Space Marine faction, and the more like vaguely heretical shit you do. So if you're like attacking other Imperial factions or you're killing lots of Imperial citizens and you're playing like more like a pirate and less like a goody two shoes, the suspicion represents how suspicious everyone is towards you, but especially how suspicious the Inquisition is towards you. So it's the Inquisition being like, oh, they're getting dangerous. They're getting dangerous. I wonder if you can go Renegade. I bet you can. I don't know if you'll fully be able to, but because Total War always really prides itself on being a sandbox game, I really feel like it's gonna let you go Renegade. Not Chaos. You're not Chaos, but I would not be surprised if you would be able to go like as far as the Imperium concerns, you're a baddie. And you're just completely beyond the pale sinister. From there you have renown, and renown is good stuff. You want renown. You want as much renown as possible. And renown you get from killing Xenos, making nice with the planetary governors and their populations. If your renown is higher than your suspicion, then you get bonuses to a resource that you can see up at the top here, called influence. And the more influence you spend on various things. If your suspicion is too high and it's higher than your renown, then you start losing influence, which is going to be bad. Probably not going to be a good time.
The things about the Space Marines, right, that's really interesting about the IP and story about them is that while they are like the heroes of the Imperium in some ways, everyone is also absolutely terrified of them. Am I allowed to swear on the stream?
If you say it, I can't stop you. So.
Okay, I was going to say, well, everyone's shit scared of them because of a little thing that happened 10,000 years ago called the Horus Heresy.
Yep.
So you are...
What's that?
Well, how long have we got? They are constantly juggling between this tension between, like, I am here to, kill Xenos and save the Imperium, but also this like sclerotic, awful nightmare bureaucracy that is the Imperium might not be giving me the resources that I actually need to do that. But if I do the things to get those resources, like administer territory, some Inquisitor back on Terra, he's going to get a little pissy, a little bit nervous about me building empires and stuff. So you're constantly juggling this concept of suspicion, which is something you'll generate when you do things that are a little bit naughty, like holding too many territories, and renown, which is the thing you get when you do things that you're meant to do, right? You know, when you kill Xenos good.
Yeah, and I do like that if you're playing a Space Marine faction and you're like, I want to paint the map my color, I want to build a Space Marine empire, I am John Heresy, because you decide you want to take over a system, you can totally do that, but the Imperium, your suspicion level is going to go out of the wazoo, and the Imperium is going to be like, nah, don't send those guys any more toys. Don't give those guys shit. Those guys they're something weird's going on over there. so there's problems over there. So you're going to stop getting influence, and you need influence to like get certain upgrades and other goodies like that.
So if you're, but the more famous you become and the more renowned you become, the more eyes are on you. So, you know, you might be, you know, the best Space Marine guy in the world who's done all these victories, but, you know, as many chapters have encountered throughout their history, that just means that the Inquisition are more suspicious of you because they're more worried that you might do something wrong. So we're really keen to explore that kind of tension at the heart of the Imperium, right? Like, the Imperium are not good. They're not the good guys, right? Like this is the nightmare regime that you're working for, and you're really having to kind of balance that against, you know, what you need to do. You know, there might be cases where the morally correct thing to do, like not murder civilians, might be seen as deeply suspicious. So there are all kinds of fun scenarios that come from that.
It depends on if they were suspicious civilians.
Remember, the Imperium is not the good guys. Are there more AI races in one campaign? Like, can there be other Space Marine chapters flying around if I play Space Marines? Yes, I believe that will be the case. Like, you'll go into a solar system and there will be multiple other factions. Like in this demo version, which this is just a basic bitch demo.
The question I had for you was the
there's like, I think in this one there's like 23.
What is it that's solving?
Two things really. So we have seen, I think most people who play Total War will realise is that, you know, the best part of any Total War campaign is the first like 20 to 30 turns, right? I think that's almost universally accepted, right? Because that's where it's a bit more of a curated experience, you're not snowballing. And we really wanted to find a way to make the game feel big and sprawling and interconnected and support like multiple separate campaigns.
That's heresy.
Without having to make that into one like just big never-ending.
Tell it
right?
to my my
people,
Tyranid baddies as they eat your ass in a
dream of this is like every
totally reasonable way that you'll definitely walk away
from. It feeds into your next Carl-Franz campaign, so it feels like it's all part of like a big ongoing journey.
Yeah. So I guess the equivalent is you play a Carl-Franz campaign, and the first campaign is you're in the old world, right? And then you finished it. Well done, you've conquered the old world. And then instead of that kind of ending there.
What's that flying thing? That is what I believe is referred to as a planetary anomaly. So it's like a satellite. There's just a lot of random crap that you'll see flying around in space or flying around the planets. It might be literally nothing. It's probably not an interactable thing and will have no bearing on your campaign. It's just there for flavor.
In your experience, when you start the next Carl-Franz campaign, you're not in the old world again. You're in the new world, or in Lustria, right? Yeah. So it's you're taking that army and you're an invading force somewhere else.
Yes, and you get that nice reset, which helps keep the difficulty curve in place. It helps keep the game varied, right? Yep. Because these planets and these systems will be very different objectives, different enemies to fight. So it allows us to kind of have this long-going narrative where you might play, you know, 600 turns across Crusade Theatre. But we can kind of keep it fresh, keep injecting new stuff, keep the gameplay engaging without it kind of getting run out of control. So it's a really exciting way to kind of, I think, capture. You know, I think sometimes
I really hope the Crusade Theater system works
in an afternoon, right? And
I really hope it works,
for example. But still not feel like that is kind of wasted or thrown away when I'm talking about that.
To scoop up a couple of little things that people have grabbed from me from chat. Questions about resizing the UI. I believe there will be a lot of kind of those accessibility and rescaling options. Not in this demo. The point of it is it's kind of plug and play. But that's something that we'd look into. How big is this planet relative to other planets?
So it depends what you mean by big. In terms of like actual physical size of the orb, I think this is like a medium-sized planet, so it's not the biggest one we have. In terms of actual number of regions on it, it's very stripped back.
Yep.
Like I said, I think, you know, the average planet, a large planet would have around 3 continents on it. Each of those would have, you know, about 5 to 7 regions.
Okay.
Region is split into.
So this planet is deliberately much smaller in the number of regions. So if this was a standard planet for the non-demo, then those other continents we saw earlier would be playable zones. So you'd be fighting over 3 distinct continents that you'll be fighting your way across. supporting what allies might be there as you beeline towards kicking your enemies off.
I have just looked at the time. We are at 4:30 and we have so much to go through.
God, okay.
So a little bit of a speed run on resources. What resources am I using here as Space Marines?
So Space Marines, your core resources are requisition.
Requisition!
And that's what you use to recruit new units, to upkeep new units, to build buildings, to build fleet upgrades, and influence, which is a kind of your local political resource that you would use to, like I said, get the governor to do things for you, maybe to recruit some allied units from a friend Mataran faction, that kind of stuff. So those are kind of faction level.
Okay, I really like that. I really like that. So the influence, which is the resource on the right that's got like the raised fist in the little triangle symbol, that resource lets you boss around the Imperial Guard. It lets you just boss them around. Probably also allows you to influence other Space Marine chapters you would come across. So being able to recruit allied units. So we saw like the War Council system earlier. So being able to recruit units from allied factions, being able to give orders to other Imperial factions, telling them like, hey, you got to do this because I've got the influence of someone higher up behind me. So if you want to play bad guys, if you want to be like probably basically renegades, you can very likely go super hardcore into that. It's just that it basically means no one from the Imperium is going to be willing to work with you. You're not going to have access to any of those like benefits. You're not going to be able to get allies. Everyone's going to probably hate you and probably declare war on you, which could be super fun. Sarlo Savage, thanks so much for the Prime sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I wonder if you can go back to a campaign to defend after you've won a war because someone else invades. I have no idea. That would be super cool.
There's resources everywhere in this game, right? Like, James, if you select a region on the map, you'll see that this region has 17 billion people in it. So that's the population of the region. So we are actually modeling like each
billion
population count.
orcs.
That will go up and down. If you bombard it, they'll die. If you blow up the planet, they'll all die. And that in turn will feed into the amount of resource that produces for you.
Did you just bombard that region?
I haven't actually checked with the UI updates now. You might have to click off it and try again. Okay. No.
Oh, they were in their bunkers.
They were.
So you just bombarded it. Fun, cute.
That's really cool then. So we've spoken about population edicts, Space Marine mechanics, resources, governor interactions, events on the regions, unit recruitment. Units don't need a general.
Oh yeah, we thought mentioned this is another case of us kind of going back to our sort of past in some ways and trying to pull the best of all worlds of Total War. Yeah, you can freely split your armies, you can merge your armies.
That is cool.
Really nicely with this like slightly coarser.
So that is nice. It's not like Total War Warhammer. So in Total War Warhammer, you have to have a lord leading an army or an HQ from like a 40k perspective. But in Total War Warhammer 40,000, you do not need a HQ or character to lead an army. An army can be made up of just troops or robots or monsters or whatever. It doesn't have to be led by a character.
Movement set because you can do things like, if you've got a choke point that's slightly too wide, right, you just take an army and you split in half and they reinforce each other, you can defend both points, right? You don't have to try and like awkwardly position the zones of control just in the right place. So in a lot of ways, even though there's less places to stand, there's actually, I think, a lot more interesting tactical decisions that you're making, which I think is really important.
And it helps the AI to interact with those systems, right? Yeah. Okay. We have got just a few more campaign things to say, and then we'll go into the second battle. All right, campaign. We've spoken about that. Victory conditions.
So they will be quite campaign specific. So depending on the campaign, you might be trying to kill a specific orc war boss. You might be trying to hunt down a renegade.
So in the middle of your stream, but I'm pretty sure there will be no playable space battles on release. Yes, that does appear to be the case.
Specific to the campaign and to the faction as well. Right? Yep. Eldari, I'm not going to be pursuing the same goals.
I don't like the movement system. Feels a bit dumbed down. I mean, it is, but I feel like it's going to lead to a much smoother play experience without like losing anything personally.
To be able to do it, I believe you can continue beyond that if you want to take off the whole system.
Especially for the amount of space you're trying to cover, where you're covering like multiple planets simultaneously.
When you combine traits and tech trees and all of that, there's going to be many different ways you can approach these problems.
Fantastic.
I hope those animations are still a work in progress. They are. This is alpha. Animations are gonna be smoothing out animations all the way up to release.
Attachment composition effects.
Oh yeah, this is a little one. This is an idea we nicked from our colleagues over on Warhammer DLC from the Gorfang Rockgut DLC. You get nice little effects, basically, depending on who's in your detachment, you will get passive effects that do different things. So one of my favourite ones is that if you're playing as one of the orc features is you run around, you get scrap piles. And if you have, you have a Gretchen unit, and Gretchen are generally a terrible unit, they're not very good in battle, but if you have a few of them in your army now has some Gretchen who they can send to pick up scrap. So as you go collect scrap, you donate more scrap. So your choice of units in the army has kind of campaign consequences.
Okay, that I love. That is super duper awesome, and I like it a lot. So depending on the units you have in your armies will get access to different features and gimmicks. So the example that he was just giving there is that Gretchen are an objectively terrible unit. You would be much more likely to replace them with, like, you know, if you were playing a standard campaign, you would almost want to replace them with bigger orc lads almost immediately. But the Gretchen have a unique campaign map ability where if they're in your army, they can run around and grab scrap from battlefields and ruins all over the map and bring it back to your army and give you more resources to play around with. So there will be reasons to take different kinds of units and not just run a death stack, because different units will provide you different advantages on the campaign map in addition to the battlefields.
In a really nice way. So sometimes it will be an ability, right, that you unlock. You know, so a lot of the Space Marine doctrines you will unlock by having a certain combination of units in your army, and again, as that kind of tactical element of how you combine your armies.
I will say, you didn't mean Gorfang Rockgut. That wasn't one of the
Gorfang Rockgut!
Ability. So your army, you have a Gretchen ones that if you're in your detached Warhammer DLC from the
composition effects.
Oh yeah, this is a little one. I mean, this is an idea we nicked from our colleagues over on Warhammer DLC from the Gorfang Rockgut DLC.
Gorfang Rockgut confirmed! Gorfang Rockgut confirmed! I don't care what I don't care what Josh says. I don't care what Josh says. Take it to the newspapers. They just committed. Creative Assembly confirms Gorfang Rockgut is coming to the game. My favorite greenskin character of all time, Gorfang Rockgut, is coming to Total War Warhammer. You heard it here first. They said it, not me. Rotgut, they committed. We've got them. We got them. we're getting at least one more greenskin DLC. We heard it here. We have it on camera, on footage. We will hold them to this. We will not let this go. This is confirmation.
So one of my favourite ones is that if you're playing as one of the orc features is you run around, you get scrap piles, and if you have, you know,
yeah,
they're not very good in battle. But if you have a few of them in your army now has
no take backsies, no take backsies.
Scrap, donate more scrap. So your choice of units in the army has kind of campaign consequences in a really nice way. So sometimes it will be ability, right, that you unlock. You know, so a lot of the Space Marine doctrines you will unlock by having a certain combination of units in your army, and again, as that kind of tactical element of how you combine your armies.
I will say, you didn't mean Gorfang.
I need everyone in this stream that has any skill, preferably the less skilled, the better. The more memes I can have on my desk tomorrow by 8 a.m. Of Gorfang Rockgut confirmed in every way, shape, and form that we could spam CA with, the better. The more, the better. We're gonna make this happen. Fuck Lord of the End Times. Whatever. It's Gorfang time.
That wasn't one of the DLCs.
It's Gorfang time.
A DLC, I promise.
Oh, sorry, who was it? What's his name?
Is it the orc?
Oh, you're right. I need to message Tariff. That's perfect. I'll message Tariff.
Fantastic. So we've got detachable.
Gorfang Rockgut confirmed.
Yes.
Turns out, everyone, Gorfang Rockgut is actually the free DLC that comes with Total War Warhammer 40,000. When this game releases, the free DLC that comes alongside it is actually Gorfang for Total War Warhammer 3. Crazy. Wow. What a generous FLC.
So we'll have tactical skills.
Amazing.
Those won't be visible in this build, but yeah, it's a little less. There's a little less focus on characters versus some previous from Warhammer.
Dude, Gorfang Rockgut would curb stomp 40k. He's the goat. Gorfang Rockgut's unstoppable. He would absolutely curb stomp 40k.
So about the concept of followers, which is again something we had in the previous medieval. But
the Red Fang's about to be the biggest, baddest lads.
You put him in your warlord's bodyguard. He's going to be there in battle. Right? If you have a chaplain and you put them in your chapter master's bodyguard, he's going to be there in battle. So these followers are things you can collect, but you actually see them in the bodyguard of your character.
And that's been really important from the dynamic cutscenes and from you saying, you know, events on the map. It is about when you've done something, you've added someone to your squad. It's about seeing that reflected, right?
It's not just a game about menus and numbers, right? It's about real things that happen in the world space.
We have two more things, and then we will let Bedson play this battle. Unit specialization and upgrades.
Yes.
The Squatter King!
That's how you kit out your units. Space Marines in particular have, you know, a lot of.
Would I rather have a skink waifu or a Skaven waifu?
Not in this.
Well, one of those is a relatively clean, intelligent aquatic creature. Something, insert Vaporeon meme here, something. that is like educated, could speak multiple languages, and is like orderly and tidy, and you could like get along with them. And the other one is a fucking man-eating giant rat with disease. I don't know. What are you gonna pick?
But you will be able to, per unit basis, customize exactly what weapons that they have.
Yep.
And those will unlock based on their experience levels. And then as they get more experience,
How would Gorbad react to being in the 40k universe? He would take over.
They get really skilled. They can become,
Gorbad is an orc that understands economics. He would be terrifying.
Nitty-gritty control of exactly how all of your units are. But my favorite is the Death Dread, because you can choose how many of its arms are guns and how many of its arms are swords. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do.
Okay, the last question we have is, are there different planet regions?
Yes, so each of these kind of regions, that's a larger group of districts that you can see here, has a kind of a theme and purpose to it. One thing that's really important about this IP is that, you know, it's not, a lot of the infrastructure here has been here for 10,000 years, right? No one is turning up and building a new hive city. The hive city is there. So
would Gorbad be a blood axe? He'd be a red fang.
That has its own unique.
He's the war boss of the red fangs. He'd make his own lads.
You can't just build that anywhere. Right, so you kind of turn up there. You have to deal with this kind of the local landscape in a kind of fun way.
Yep. Cool. We're going to let Benson go into the battle. There may be some more campaign stuff we pick up, but we have 2 working mics now, hopefully. So should be that we can all talk at once. There was a question of what factions there will be at launch.
So we have our 4 playable factions, which is Space Marines, Eldari, Orcs, and Ashnodar. Each of those will have 2 playable sub-factions, which are like an authored lore faction. So they'll come with their own special traits, their own special characters, colour themes, etc. But for each of those...
Oh, okay, so he just explained it right there. So at launch, every major faction will have 2 lore sub-factions that will have their own special characters and their own unique traits and gimmicks. And we already know, based on the demo, because we actually see it in the drop-down menu for the presets, it seems that for the Space Marines, the starting presets are the 2 lore presets seem to be the Ultramarines and the Salamanders.
You'll also be able to build, you know, many thousands of combinations of custom factions as well.
And we can guess, based on the reveals that we've already gotten, that for the orcs, it's gonna be Gazkul's faction, whatever the fuck Gazkul's thing is. And I would guess, what's that other guy they showed off? What is he, a snakebite? The character that just got the new tabletop mini?
Has our capture card gone down? Oh, let me put us on main camera. Oh no, it's rebooted itself. Hold on, we're back.
Nazdrag. Yeah, Nazdrag. So I imagine it'll be Nazdrag and
I think a lot of people are gonna.
Oh, he's Badmans. Okay.
Immediately jump in, make their first Space Marine custom chapter.
What is Gazkul?
We kind of want to support both, right? Because we have 2 kinds of players. You know,
what's Gazkul's faction?
Be like, I'm boring. Sorry, I'm biased. I don't like Ultramarines. But you can say
Goths. Okay, so yeah, it'll probably be Goths and Badmoons. Will be the 2 starting greenskin factions.
Customization is huge. But we do know, especially from the Warhammer trilogy, that people like having these kind of big names who they can play as well. So we're really trying to support both options.
And you can see there in the...
Now, the thing that's interesting to me is I wonder if when you're going into a theater, if you pick the Ultramarines and say it's led by Marnius Calgar, does that mean Marnius Calgar is your faction leader? Or will you still make a custom faction leader for the Ultramarines, but do you like get earlier access to Calgar? And if you make just a regular custom faction, does your custom faction not get access to Calgar? Or are there like missions or things you can do in order to get access to him as part of your faction, even though you're not playing Ultramarines? That's the thing I'm really curious about.
I think our capture card is just about recovered. You can see in there the custom faction in that was their colours. That was Bedson's colours that he'd chosen in that cutscene. And then we've got that Land Raider we rescued.
Yeah, that's the Land Raider,
yeah. And a lot of other tanks. Like he's clearly trying to match most of the match tank numbers.
Oh yeah, he was busy while we were talking.
This is an absolutely.
Is there co-op? There is multiplayer. Yes. The game will fully support a rather significant multiplayer. So you can play co-op, you can play like free-for-all campaigns, there will be battle co-op, battle free-for-all. Well, I don't know about free-for-all, actually, I shouldn't say free-for-all. But there will be battle like 1v1 or 2v2 or whatever. And there will be multiplayer in the campaigns as well. So you could like play with a friend, or you could play against a friend. I don't know if I don't know how many people. I would guess it'll be a minimum of 4, but I would not be surprised if it goes up to 8.
Devastating amount of firepower.
He wants to make sure he really doesn't lose this battle. Okay, feel free to get started. So one of the burning questions is, we have a Land Raider in there, but people have spotted there's no such thing as a transport capacity yet.
Yeah.
Is there a transport ability?
Not for release. It's definitely something that we're keen to look into.
Okay, and so this they confirmed during the stream. When the game comes out, so at release, there will not be a transport system. So there won't be a transport system. So you can't put anybody inside of vehicles yet. But they are trying to implement it. So it is something that will likely, hopefully, come later in a future patch. But for right now, at release, all of the transport vehicles are just vehicles with abilities and pew pew and yada yada. Thanks for the confirmation. CA was vague about this. Vague about what?
So we'll see.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've seen some of the discussions about it. We know it's something that people would see and that they definitely want. My understanding is the discussion is to make sure the technology to do it right is there. That's why that decision's been made.
Multiplayer campaign. Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna work. But like, it's a Total War game. Total War games will always have multiplayer campaigns. Always. It's a fundamental building block. I would guess the reason CA probably hasn't talked much about it yet is because I don't know if it's fully implemented or if they know how it's going to be implemented. I would be shocked if there's not co-op. Like, I would be beyond shocked if there was not multiplayer, because it's such a fundamental aspect of a Total War game.
Rushing in with a system that kind of would half work. We want to do something that actually feels good for transports.
Yeah, and there's also the secondary part, which is, any feature that we do, we want to ensure that the AI can also use it correctly. And like, transports are such a central mechanic for how you can operate on a battlefield. What are your tactical choices? So, if we do transports, we want to ensure that the AI is also capable of using them.
Yeah. And we're planning to support this game for a long time.
Yeah.
Like we'll be constantly adding new features, and certainly, like, say if your favourite faction happens to be heavily reliant on transports, I think you can probably suspect that we would have them in the game before that.
Heavily reliant on transports. If you're a Dark Eldar player, we will hopefully figure out the transport system before your faction comes through the game.
And in the meantime, like, units that are transports, we're trying to ensure that they're also relevant combat units.
Yep.
Which they often are. And like, the transports you've seen are generally a bit more combat capable as well.
Yeah. And we do have things like drop pods, and I think some units can be built by Valkyries. Is that something we've kept? So you will see kind of transport-like things, but they're not going to hang around the battlefield afterwards. They're going to fly in and drop the units off and then fly away.
You're really hoping they're going to go over that bridge, aren't you? So some things people have seen there. We spoke in the last stream about the Astra Militarum's in-battle abilities. The Space Marines have their own. Betson, if you're willing to mouse over them.
Yes, so we have three doctrines. So you have the tactical doctrine, which basically gives you a burst of speed, bit of accuracy.
Yeah, cool. So depending on what units you have in your army, if you have a good mix of units, you will get access to different doctrines, which are like army abilities. So you have the tactical doctrine, which improves your accuracy and the max speed of units that are affected. You have the combat doctrine, which makes your guys better at combat, and they run a little faster and they charge a little faster and they get combat buffs. And then you have the
main reason for this is
Devastator doctrine, which makes your guys
if you need to move,
pew pew real good,
strafe away from an incoming horde, get to a key position.
Yeah, so Devastator doctrine is improved range.
Fast, it's good for that.
Yeah. And
you can basically activate in an area to gain that bonus where you most need it. Devastator basically maximizes your firepower, helps you punch through armor.
Yeah, so I think there's a weird thing in the build where, like, it's showing the burst cooldown time reduction and reload time reduction as a bad thing in red, but it's actually a good thing because it's making your burst and reload time shorter, so you're firing faster. But I think for the demo build, it's kind of dumb, and it's like, oh, it's negative, therefore bad.
Just kind of, really kind of help your gun line punch through where it's needed. And finally, you've got the Assault Doctrine, which is like, when you need some good melee output, it's there for you.
Again,
I'm the most nervous about how resource intensive the game will be. I don't think it's going to be as bad as a lot of people think. Total War games tend to be pretty okay about being optimized so that they play on, like, not the best PCs. so long as you like adjust the settings properly. And this game in particular, I mean, this game's specifically being designed to run on consoles. So PC players will hopefully not be under too much strain trying to play the game, despite how like nice it looks and all the systems that are running inside of it, because it's gonna be designed hopefully well for consoles, which they have experience with. It's not like this is the first time that CA has made a strategy game for consoles. The Halo Wars games, which the Halo Wars team is also working on this game. To my understanding, that game fucking slapped on console. Like it was designed very, very well.
Mimicking the tabletop,
Yeah,
right?
like if you have your Terminators punching somewhere or your Assault Intercessors, go for Assault. It's gonna help you shine.
Yeah. Again, the reason that Benson has these unlocked is because he's built a balanced army with, some shooter units.
Oh, I was nervous about the co-op campaigns. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what that looks like.
See the Orc Milkshake in action as well. It's traveling in a slightly...
Halo Wars was great on 360.
Yeah, it really hates that building, and it hates a couple of orcs that have been chucked away. But,
multiplayer campaigns are always a mess when it comes to performance. I mean, it just will be about like how are they gonna optimize it. Like it might just be hard turn-based to make sure that like resources aren't being overwhelmed within the game. Who knows? We'll just have to see.
Instead of the cards, well done. That is them having their own abilities outside of just Space Marine abilities, right? There are unit abilities.
Yeah, we've tried to keep unit abilities quite minimal. Like, because in the end, like we want to focus in on the action, and we kind of want to ensure that the game is more about tactics than just like micromanaging every ability that you have, or say hit the combat buff button to give you 20% more attack for this unit, and then wait on a cooldown.
There was a question there of why were there Imperial Guard in the middle of the battlefield when we started it?
So basically, we have ambient units. These are like units. There's constant war on these planets, and like there's always going to be local forces already kind of joining in on the fight. It just really helps.
As long as it's not a Rome 2 release.
The scene for
yeah, Rome 2 was those were interesting times.
Your army of Space Marines might not be like tons and tons of entities. Any battle you're fighting, there's going to be like a few hundred at a time.
Is CA going to have dedicated multiplayer servers? God, I hope so. I doubt it, but I hope so. I know if Turin gets his way, that would be like if someone gave Turin a wish. I think if someone gave Turin one wish he could use, that man would not wish for world peace. He would not wish for $1 million. He would wish for the goddamn Total War games to have dedicated multiplayer servers. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yep. And the Bedson setting up a perfect ambush there.
Yeah, he's gonna
just kind of Kool-Aiding his way through all the buildings.
Yeah. So one of the things we didn't get to talk about last time, which was
I love the environmental destruction in this game. It's really cool.
We did have a lot of questions about it though, so I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of a breakdown of how melee combat works here, maybe in how it's different to other Total War titles and what's been improved.
So kind of like, again, the key part that we've kind of focused on is like how do we sell the fantasy? How do we make melee combat kind of look like it belongs in the world? Like a key area that we've really looked into is just the fluidity of combat. So like how frequently do entities attack, for example? Like you can't do a Space Marine where every 4 seconds a Space Marine will attack.
Yep.
That just doesn't sell the fantasy. So we've kind of gone, well, Space Marine should probably try to attack as frequently as possible. And that's kind of the approach we've taken with them. So there are times where Space Marine will take a break from attacking, but that might just be a break to shoot.
To get the pistol ready.
Yeah. Or just like to find a new thing to punch. And we basically spend quite a bit of time just kind of trying to figure out like how do entities make movement decisions in combat. Like how can they maneuver to get to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So for example, like Space Marines, if they start getting kind of surrounded, they'll try to kind of huddle up together towards like kind of forming this fighting circle, where basically they're kind of protecting each other's backs. Space Marines can be flanked. They generally they take less of a debuff if they get basically flanked.
They're armored more around.
They're armored more around, and I think they.
Yeah, I will say I do like that they're thinking about like race specific reactions to combat. So, and you'll actually see this I think in some of the footage that I have, where if your Space Marines get surrounded, they won't string out. They will literally start backing up against one another, and they'll form like a little pocket where they'll be fighting like practically back to back, and they do that automatically, which is really, really nice.
There's a better awareness to begin with, and they're pretty much always surrounded.
They're used to it.
Yeah, and then for example, we have other entities. We kind of have like this threat system running underneath, or in the melee combat itself, where entities will basically try to like figure out, well, is this thing threatening to me?
Yep.
So for example, like a Space Marine might not stand back from an orc boy, but they might stand back from a stomper.
Oh yeah.
And in the same way, like, you know, a trooper, like a Astra Mill trooper might not be. Well, they're
They're not going to step back from.
well, they're gonna probably not Gretchen, but they, for example, like boys, you know, will be more threatening towards a trooper.
Yeah.
And they'll, you know, try to like they don't want to withdraw from combat.
Yeah.
Like it's their place. They know what they want to do. Whereas a trooper might, or like a boy might step away from Space Marine and be like, okay, actually, this is still a bit scary. Like I'm aggressive. I want to punch them, but this Space Marine just keeps killing my friends.
I just got distracted by Benson performing the most egregious act of overkill.
Really dislike that.
I will note,
Fantastic.
because I know some people see it where there's like FPS drops and stuff. In my play of the game, like I was playing using a program that basically let me take over their PC and play it from my PC. I did not have any frame drops while I was playing the game. Like everything was quite smooth. When I played it, I think this has more to do with whatever they're using to stream this from.
We can end that there.
I think their capture card is just super fucked up. But when I was playing it, it was actually quite stable.
I will say the well, obviously we are still working on optimization. Genuinely, that is our capture card dying in the background there. It's been going for a few years, and I think it's time for us to get a new one. Right, we're going to load back. I think we've got one more battle that we can play through.
And so I will say, as someone that has been to Horsham many times and has played their like, hey, we're going to show you the test version of our build PCs. Their test PCs fucking suck. They're like, they are surprisingly garbage computers. They are terrible.
So there's nothing more for us. So we'll see if there's stuff that people can bring up, and that hopefully we'll be able to answer. So if you guys have questions,
we're almost through this.
So we've got campaign to talk about, we've got battle to talk about. Otherwise, even if there are things we've already answered, we can go back over.
I'm gonna speed them up a little more.
We'll have Bedson whiz through this final battle, and then we will start to wrap things up. Who are your favourite factions in Warhammer 40,000? Not in Total War.
Oh, I'm an Agnek.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love my little robot. I have an army downstairs.
That's a positive though. Good for low-end PCs. Yeah, it is good. Do they develop on bad PCs? No, the development PCs are much nicer.
You're very happy then.
More of the, well, not quite. My army is deathcore, so still waiting.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see in this battle that in the first battle Benson was fighting, his Librarian's in Tactics armor. This time he's in Terminator armor, so he's a lot more of a chunky lad. When I played this battle with my colleague Dave in the past, we started calling him Dumble War.
Oh yeah.
Or occasionally Gundalf. We can't decide which we prefer because he's.
You can't say that on stream.
Yeah, really
you can't reference other IPs like that. Will, what are you doing? Will, what are you doing?
Nobody, because you can blow you up his brain.
Yeah.
But from a junior to
Did I ever tell y'all when I did the stream for the so when I went over there last year, I went over to Creative Assembly to film the whole announcement for Lords of the End Times, where we did the whole reveal of it and everything. When I went over there, I got in so much trouble. I got in so much trouble when we were recording the Nagash part, because like it took several takes to do everything. It's just because there was a lot of stuff. But when we were doing the Nagash part, there was a part where we were talking about the Mortarks, and I was like, oh, so like there's gonna be all of the Mortarks like from the canonical version of the End Times, so the 9, and they were like, yeah, and they were like, yeah, and you'll be able to like you'll have like a system where you're able to get them all and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, so you could like so you could play Nagash, and you could be like, gotta catch them all, and just like I had an earpiece in my ear so that the lady that was directing us could talk to me, and I just hear cut. No, you cannot say that. You absolutely cannot say that. You cannot make a Pokemon reference. Start over. Take it to the top. It was like, oh, fuck.
They have a wound system, which means they'll be a little bit resilient. I have to come a few times. Of course, for Space Marines, you know, it wouldn't be Space Marines if you couldn't take the mushed up, almost corpse of a Space Marine and shove it in a big metal tin can and send it back into battle with the Dreadnought. So there will be a little mechanic where even if your character has died, they might continue to serve the Emperor in a slightly chonkier form.
Yeah, I do like that a lot. So the Space Marines do have like a unique system where if a character dies on the battlefield, there's a percentage chance that you can like basically recover their corpse and turn them into a Dreadnought. Which is really, really cool. And I imagine there will be technologies and stuff you can get that'll improve the chances of that.
And when that Dreadnought's blown up, we'll put that in a bigger Dreadnought. Be like one of those Russian nesting dolls by the end.
Yeah, so even so dreadnoughts and actually land raiders as well, like we're treating them almost like characters as well. Like these are super rare, super powerful, ancient creations that are really valuable. So yeah, I think while you probably can theoretically get a 20 stack of dreadnoughts at some point very late in the theatre, like that's not something we'll watch be easy, or something you'll see a very common place, right? Even a 20 stack of Space Marines in total, right, is actually quite a rare sight.
Yeah. Also, I will ask you that question in a second, because someone was asking, will all factions have a deep level of customization? And yes, they will. What was the last thing you said?
Dreadnoughts? 20 stacks of dreadnoughts?
There we go. So I think it was a conversation on Reddit of how are we stopping doom stacking in this? What will stop me from just getting 20 dreadnoughts turn 10?
Yeah, so a lot of it will be just how we regulate the economy.
Wonder if you can do that with Eldarian Wraith units. That would not surprise me, considering what rates are.
Over time. And also, like certain units, for example, will primarily only be available via upgrades of the units, right? So, something you kind of borrowed from Warriors of Chaos in Warhammer 3. If you want like a Stern Guard veteran or a Terminator squad, right, there might be some very late game options to recruit those directly, but most of the time you're going to have to rank up an intercessor, make them into a veteran, upgrade them again, so they feel like really valuable over time. Obviously, other factions won't have so many problems getting units. It's you actually probably end up with more aggression than you really want in an all campaign, but you got them, so you might as well make use of them by throwing them in as meat shields and using their teeth to buy better units.
Fantastic. There's questions there about sync kills, if sync kills made a return.
Yeah, I mean they're there in small portions.
I remember we had quite an in-depth discussion on one of our streams about the difficulties of sync kills when it comes to then balancing factions, of like the length of a sync kill and how invulnerable they are during that time. So I think this is about trying to find a balance between the cinematic and...
So this game, it does have sync kills. Sync kills are in the game, but they're used sparingly, just like they are in Total War Warhammer, where there are times where you will see sync kills, but it's not like Dawn of War, where like every fucking kill almost is a sync kill. It's designed to be more appropriate on the larger scale that you're looking at. So they do exist. They're in there. If you're watching the battles, they will be there. This particular build, the combat is pretty early. It's pretty rough at the moment. But I imagine that's something you'll see later in the beta.
Having reliable units where if you ask them to pull back, they're not stuck in a 10-second animation.
Yeah, and it's very much about, like, again, for us, sync kills are a way of selling connection.
Yeah.
But use them too much, they become very repetitive, unless you build, like, a huge pool of sync kills, which is incredibly expensive.
Where are the Titans, or is that an expansion? Well, that would be a different faction, wouldn't it? Titans aren't in the Space Marine faction, or the Astro... Aren't they their own? They're their own standalone faction, aren't they?
Feeling of impact. And that's like our main focus, because like asynchronous combat plays better for the game that we're trying to make. But there is a place for, like, the spectacle of a sync kill.
It's finding that balance. And I think there was discussion of like, is it ragdolling, I guess, when they're killed? Of like, it's more physics-based responses to things. I mean, we saw it in the Land Raider kind of veering on one side as it was going over an obstacle, right? That wasn't an animation, that was a dynamic response.
So that would be like the physics-based impulses that, for example, vehicles.
Okay, I'm going to skip this.
Yes.
That's not canon, that's kind of all of it, sort of that dynamic. And the vehicle tech stuff is really cool. Like if you take a ramp at enough speed with a Land Raider, it'll get over there and stuff. And like when a Bane fires a cannon,
just like in Tabletop.
Kind of, it kind of rocks back and stuff. And a lot of that is actually physics driven rather than.
That's really cool.
And again, with the destruction of the buildings as well, right? Like a lot of that is all the building destruction, right? That's driven by physics, right? And that creates these kind of really cool.
Oh, a Titan is different than a Knight. Okay, I was thinking of Knights.
With a big rocket structure back, and it's not the most reliable unit in the world for obvious reasons. Sometimes when it dies, it will just go.
Yeah, I do not believe there are Titans in the base game.
Who can explode and fly into something else. So it really allows these kind of really cool emergent storytelling moments.
Oh, this is very important for Benson that this goes off, because he's getting relatively overwhelmed. So this is quite an important strike. Oh, there we go. Has that saved you?
The question is, do you still have reinforcements?
He has a few. And you don't have any. Ooh.
Battle approach to combat.
I think Benson's trying to him.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's your job. So live and die for the Emperor.
There is a question of, is it the intent that the custom faction will be represented on the unit cards?
In some way, yes. I think we're still trying to work exactly how we do that. Yeah.
The largest Titans in this battle with a single shot.
Definitely the personality come from the campaign as
well. We'll have to see.
So if you're fighting against, let's say, a sort of a Bad Moon themed.
I think Total War games will allow you to see some rather ridiculous, amusing interactions.
A goth themed melee faction, they'll be using lots of
lore-wise,
so you should,
could a Titan win like an entire planet by itself? Probably. But would it do it on tabletop if I roll enough dice? No, I bet I could kill it.
Would there be any chance that
if I have enough dice,
placing them in your own campaign as a different faction? I'm really throwing questions at you now that I don't know the answer to, so good luck.
I'm not sure where we've settled on this, but there is some stuff that we were trying to do with in terms of bringing in your friends, clubs, and factions into your campaigns. I don't quite know where we've settled with that, without something we do for launch, but there are definitely lots of really cool opportunities for that kind of stuff that we can kind of bring in. Yeah, watch this space. I just love seeing the carnage after this.
Yeah, it does look like Benson stabilized it.
It's not in this build, but we had some tech with it recently where if you drive a tank across the corpses, they'll kind of pop like straight. Big gory splatters. So yeah.
He's done it. Well done. Fantastic. I was going to call out at the start that we all call him different things, James or Beds. Perfectly planned to look close. Fantastic if you're lucky enough to get in, or beyond that to launch. But we will have news on closed beta soon, for those of you who are looking for it, and you can expect Total War Warhammer 40,000 to be coming out in 2027.
All right, there you go. So 2027 release, at least that is the plan. And the closed beta should be starting very soon. I would be shocked if it's not too long after Lords of the End Times fully releases. So maybe October, November, somewhere in that ballpark. Hopefully, possibly, if everything goes according to plan. I mean, Sotek lore-wise, a single space marine should be able to conquer a planet. That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I know what you're referencing, but whoever said that should be slapped. They should be slapped. Just No, that's not how planetary occupation works, you dumb bitch. Did I sneak you a copy of the game? Yeah, I stuck it up in there somewhere, Johan. You just gotta dig deep and find it. All right, so with that, we are able to. Can we get a shout out for Johan before I forget, mods? With that, we can now go to my own footage. So this is the footage that I recorded of my idiotic self playing through this demo essentially. This is not edited, this is just the raw footage because I'm lazy. And editing footage that is this long makes me want to kill myself. But you can see there's like some really fun little nice cutscenes and stuff showing off the various units. I really take my time like showing off different things. So I'm gonna kind of walk us through it. I'm gonna be skipping around a lot to just get through this in a reasonable time frame. But what I am gonna do is I am gonna release my playthrough footage just completely raw and unedited. Ooh. So that if anybody wants to go through it and they want to like micro analyze everything they can find and everything that I clicked on and all that shit, they absolutely can. Without me having to listen to me talk over it or any of that other shit. So I will release that after this stream. So I'll let this cutscene play. I won't talk over this. I'll just let it play.
Some will falter.
Wait, can y'all hear it?
Some will fade.
Do y'all hear any of that?
Few will linger
Oh,
on.
you do, but I can't mute myself or else the thing gets mad at me. Okay, hold on. Let's try that again. I won't mute myself this time. I'll just not talk. Like I said, I'm still figuring stuff out. My bad.
The galaxy burns. There is no peace amongst the stars. They flicker like a million candles holding back the night. Some will falter, some will fade. A few will linger on, their worlds worthy of protection. The Emperor's left hand descends for his angels. Courageous, dutiful, but ignorant of the trials to come. A journey is required. These warriors must seek the light before they can safeguard it. For if they fail, the candle they hope to shield, and many others, will be extinguished.
Cogitation protocols initializing. Nodal link established. Fleet modules online. Synchronizing crew data of the Emperor's Torch.
What is our status, Fernand?
Captain Halsor has made planetfall and awaits our arrival on Umbral Prime.
Very well. Commence mission protocols.
Cogitating. Decrypting mission objectives. Ident seals verified. An inquisitorial petition for aid. Operation Illumination. An inquisitorial vessel named the Sagacity has been lost, presumed crashed. It was transporting cargo of extreme importance to the Imperium.
What cargo?
Data has been redacted. It must be recovered at all costs. Arrival imminent, Lord.
Prepare for real space re-entry.
Real space translation complete. Ship systems operating within acceptable efficiency parameters. Thank the machine god. Entering orbit of Umbral Prime. Establishing box link with our strike detachment.
Captain Halsor, have you located the crash site? Coordinates have been confirmed. It lies to the east. Then we are close.
Okay. So, this is just the main tutorial mission. To my understanding, the entire, and once again, take this with a massive amount of salt because I do not know if this will be the case when the game is like fully out and stuff. I don't believe the full game is like, oh, it's all about Armageddon, but I believe the tutorial, and like the demo stuff does focus around Armageddon. I think the full game is going to be beyond simply Armageddon, but we'll have to wait and see on that. What a lovely planet to fight over. Yeah, look at all those big dragon skeletons. Why aren't those playable? Those are just Warhammer Fantasy dragons. Look at those fucking things. So a lot of this, I'm going to skip over a lot of this because none of this is like particularly new information. This is all old information, but the audio is really nice. The game sounds really good. It looks really good. I do think it's heading in a really positive direction. We're gonna skip ahead. Yeah, so we're gonna just skip to the first battle. And I'm gonna point out the things that I find interesting to point out, and we'll keep on keeping on. Okay, so a couple things. A, is this pre-Cadia destruction? No, the game is modern. So the game takes place after the fall of Cadia and the Great Rift and all the other shit. Second, I am not sure about this, but I believe the game is kind of like Shogun 2, or like a lot of the Total War games, where there is a little pre-battle movie for every single battle. At least in this build, every time I fight a battle, there's always a little movie at the start of it where it basically shows like your guys flying in or your guys coming out of a tank or something, and sometimes you'll see the enemy faction, but there does seem to be cute little movies every time you go into a battle. Hey, Almantis, good to see you. I need to message you about something later, my good sir. Are you required to have a character in your armies like Total War Warhammer? No, you do not need to have a character in your armies. So it's like older Total War games. You can have an army just made up of units. So some stuff I want to point out about battles. So like I said, for my build, I have such a fucking long video because a lot of what I did was just sit and stare at things. For people that are interested in that, so a lot of really easy stuff to skip over. If I were you and I was watching this later, I would watch it at like 2 times speed. So, some of the basic information that you'll see here when it comes to the unit panels is over on the unit panels, you'll see information that revolves around like what is the unit good against. So in this case, you see this is a captain, so he's a command unit, which is why he's got like the skull symbol. You can see you've got information like how fast is he, what's his line of sight, how many people he's killed, what's his health, how much experience does he have. And then the firepower versus is essentially an overall fast-paced, like what is he good against. So he's pretty damn good against light targets, he's at his best against medium targets, and he's not very good, he kind of sucks against the video is too loud. Okay, sorry, I'll turn it down. He'll kind of he's not very good against heavy. He'll struggle against heavy targets. From there, so you'll see that a lot of these units come equipped with so much random shit. They come equipped with so much shit on each individual unit, and I believe that these are things that you have a lot of customization over. About like what kind of materials are the units carrying. So in this case, you can see that my character has frag grenades. Now the frag grenades are really nice because they have a lot of notable systems. So they have the blast trait. So blast trait means they cannot be evaded. So in this game, there are 2 defensive stats. You have armor, which is straight damage mitigation, and then you have evasion. And evasion is how likely your character is to dodge incoming damage. So like if somebody's shooting at them or somebody's trying to stab them in melee, if you have high evasion, you'll just full on avoid all the damage. But if you have high armor, you'll take the damage, but you'll mitigate it. So you'll reduce the amount of damage overall taken. And then it's indirect fire, so you can throw the grenades at people that are not within line of sight. But importantly, this is a cycle trait weapon, and the cycle trait weapons means that you, the player, do not directly control this. You have no control over when they use the frag grenades. Instead, it is a passive ability where when the conditions are met, the unit will use them as often as they can in the appropriate situation. So you can see that the swap condition for the frag grenade is there is a target within 50 meters. So or 50 yards. I don't know if it's yards or meters. Maybe it's yards. So if someone is within range, your guys will automatically go, oh, they're in grenade range, pull pin, throw. As I will show you with other weapons, there will have other conditions. So if you have a weapon that's good against a very particular target, the game will not use that weapon unless it is against a target that would be appropriate for that weapon, depending on the target type. Do I play mouse, keyboard, and controller? I play with mouse and keyboard. I don't even own a controller. So unfortunately, I cannot help you on that. David Whitfield, thank you so much for the super chat. Morning, Zotek. I can now understand why you're so busy. So much getting released at the moment. It is hell. It's a good hell, but it is hell. I haven't even shown y'all. Am I allowed to talk about it? No, it's not Thursday. There's a whole nother fucking game that has nothing to do with Total War that I have a shitload of footage of and I'm going to talk about because I got to play it and it was fun. There's like a whole nother game I got to talk about. But that's not until tomorrow. So yeah, it is, it's kind of crazy right now. So that's the frag grenade. Here you'll see the bolt rifle. The bolt rifle is pretty straightforward. It gives you a little lore blurb, says that it's a rocket-propelled round that explodes when it hits the target, and it has the rapid fire trait. And the rapid fire trait means that when you're if you're targeting someone that's close, so they're close to you when you start shooting, your rate of fire is higher than if they are far away. It's not Deathmaster. God, I wish it was Deathmaster. And it has nothing to do with Warhammer. I'll put it that way. It has nothing to do with Warhammer whatsoever. I'm not going to say anything else because I'm not breaking NDAs. Here we see the overall stats. So this is something I really, really like about this game. Something that's really cool about this game is for the overall stats and the individual weapons. You'll notice that at the top up here, where it says Captain, there are 2 selectable systems. So depending on the unit, every unit has its own unique breakdowns, and you can see the stats for all of the different kinds of guys in the unit. So in the case of my character squad for my captain, there's the captain himself, which is this left tab where you can see Captain X1. So there's 1 captain in the unit, and this is the captain's stat line. So he has 100 armor, 0 evasion. He can't evade for shit. He has 35 defense, which is functionally melee defense. He has 1 charge defense, so when he gets charged, he's not going to be mitigating a lot of the charge bonuses. So I want to prevent him from being charged, preferably. His max speed is 46, and his charge speed is 80. And those are in green because he's getting a little buff, which we'll talk about later. Now, these 3 triangles over here, what the 3 triangles are, that is the squad that is with him. So his, like, bodyguard. Oh, excuse me. So I was a little wrong about evasion earlier. Apparently evasion is specifically for dodging ranged fire. And then defense, that's right. So evasion is your chance of dodging enemy shooting, and then defense is your chance of dodging enemy melee. That's how that works. So once again, I will load this up without me yapping. So if you want to go through this and see me, I literally meticulously mouse over every goddamn thing I can find to just let people read all of the information. So here you can see this is the rest of his bodyguard, which in this case are intercessors. So the intercessors have basically the same stats, but they might have different stats depending on the situation. And there are 4 intercessors in the unit. So you're able to see the squad breakdown based on the unique individuals within the unit. So in the case of my character, it's the captain and his bodyguard, which are the 4 intercessors. But in the case of another unit, it might be a unit champion, some regular guys, and then a specialist. So your unit might have specialist individuals, and the specialist can carry different weapons. So like maybe there will be one guy in the unit that has like a big fuck you heavy bolter, and then there will be like 8 normal guys that have regular bolters, and then there will be a unit captain or unit commander who has like a bolt pistol and a power sword or whatever. So all of these different types of individuals in the unit can have completely different weapons, which is very, very cool. So here I start going through all the different things. So here you can see the stats for the bolt rifle. So the bolt rifle will have different stats for the intercessor and the captain. He's going to have different stats than them. And this tells me that the bolt rifle is pretty good against light targets. It's very good against medium targets, and it's absolute garbage shit ass against heavy targets. And then it has a 50 accuracy rating, so it's pretty mid in its likelihood of connecting with the target. It's got 20 projectile armor piercing damage. It's got 140 range, 140 non-armor piercing damage, and it has 11 rate of fire, which means that over the course of 10 seconds, they will fire 11 shots. I'm surprised that Space Marines tutorials seeing the Guard are a bit more standard. Yes, but that's because Space Marines are ultimately the Space Marines are they're the face of the game. Like they're the face of Total War Warhammer 40,000. Everyone, the average consumer is going to want to do their Space Marines because they're the face of Warhammer, which is unfortunate, but is the way it is. So you can see here the captain, funny enough, actually just has worse shooting stats than the intercessors. The intercessors have an accuracy of 50. The captain, for whatever reason, only has an accuracy of 45. So he's kind of just worse than them, which is funny. From there, I could click on the grenades. So on the frag grenades, I could see all the specific breakdowns of how they each handle their frag grenades. So with the captain, he has an accuracy of 49. It deals 10 armor piercing damage, has a range of 50, deals 40 projectile damage. He can fire it. He can throw a grenade once every 10 seconds. And then it has 110 explosion damage, and the explosion radius is 6 yards, or probably 6 yards. And you can see, once again, the intercessors are better at throwing grenades than my boss man is.
We shall cleanse this scourge together.
So they're more accurate. So they have an accuracy of 54 instead of whatever the fuck his was. But the advantage that he has over them, which we'll see here in a second, sounds way more complicated than Total War. It's not, because the game does all of this automatically. You don't have to micromanage any of this.
Focus, brothers. Hostiles are sure.
So here you'll see this is why the captain is a little worse at shooting, because he is the only guy in the unit that has a fucking power sword, and the power sword is pretty baller. So the power sword, you can see here, very, very solid stat line. It's got 80 armor piercing damage, 130 non-armor piercing damage. It has 75 attack, which is quite high, so it has a really good percentage chance of hitting the opponent. It gives me a plus 25 bonus when I am charging. The charge knockover isn't very good, and it can hit up to 4 people at once. My intercessors do not have power swords. Instead, they have their bolt rifles. So they will wield their bolt rifles in combat, and the bolt rifles kind of suck. They're not very good in combat. They will do the job against enemies, like low tier enemies, but otherwise they're not that great.
Be swift and ruthless.
So here we're looking at regular intercessors, and you'll notice on the regular intercessors, so there's 10 guys in a squad, movement, line of sight, yada yada yada. They're ranged infantry, they're medium armor, and then here you'll see, look at my intercessors. So my intercessors have 3 categories, not 2 categories. So I have the 8 intercessors, the intercessor specialist, and the intercessor sergeant. And those are going to have different unique things. So here you can see the intercessor's specialist. He does not have the normal weapons. Instead, he has an Astartes grenade launcher with frag grenades. So he will use this weapon when he can, rather than the bolt rifle. And these are customization options that you can have control over when you play the game. You can see here I have a bolt pistol, but the only person in my unit that has a bolt pistol is the intercessor sergeant. The frag grenades, everybody in the unit has frag grenades. Did I zoom in on units? I think I got a little bit of some zoom ins. Some of the battles can get rather chaotic. So here you can see they have slightly different stats. You have the Astartes grenade launcher with crack grenades. So your specialist has multiple kinds of ammo. He has frag grenades, but he also has crack grenades. So what are the conditions for using it? The game will automatically calculate that. If there is an enemy within range of his grenade launcher, if they have 100 or more armor, he will automatically switch to using crack grenades and be firing his crack grenades at them. If they have less than 100 armor, then the swap condition has not been met. And that means that he will use frag grenades instead of crack grenades, because the frag grenades are better against less armored targets. Does that make sense?
Stay sharp. Our enemies await.
And then it also apparently has a bolter version. I guess it can shoot bolters. And then the sergeant has a chain sword, which gives him relatively good combat stats. The specialist has a combat knife. And everyone else in the unit just uses their bolt rifles to bludgeon people.
Ready. Focus, brothers. Hostiles are surely close.
Can you give heavy weapons at tactical squads like a heavy plasma gun? I believe, depending on the unit, they will have different options you are able to kit them out with, depending on what weapons you've unlocked through your tech tree, over the course of your campaign, what your faction specializes in, so like what traits they have. Does your faction like specialize in flamers? So they might have flamers unlocked earlier. So depending on what weapons you have unlocked, you can equip your units differently. So there is a ton of customization.
Good doctrine to set up optimal positioning to oversee the battlefield.
You know, here we're looking around a bit. I'm going to skip ahead a fair bit as well because I don't want to be streaming this for like a gajillion years. And like I said, I'm going to upload this as its own separate video. So if you just kind of want to like see and hear and feel things, haha, Final Fantasy 14 reference, you can do that. I will point out, this part's pretty fun of these orcs charging up the hill. And what does it feel like being shot at by Astartes? Well, let's find out. Let's take bets. How many orcs are about to survive what's going to happen, chat? So you can see it's automatically using the frag grenades because now they're in range. And you can hear the bolter rounds slamming into people and then blowing up. But now as I get closer, you can now hear the guns, the actual sound of the guns igniting when they fire. And it's meaty. All right, if you said 2 orcs would survive, congratulations, you're right. Just kidding, they're all dead. Now, in defense of the orcs, they weren't moving that fast because they were running uphill. And unfortunately for them, this is a total war game, so if you're fighting from uphill, you get bonuses. So they had a really bad time. So here you can see the moving around and moving into combat, or moving into cover. Moving into cover is very, very similar to Dawn of War 2. You're able to just, when you click a unit, you can just right click and drag and they will automatically move into cover. You'll notice though that as I am running past these flash gits, that because they are shooting very rapid fire weapons, and they are hitting me in the flank, they are basically hitting me with suppression fire. So my guys are taking debuffs and having a bad time, but once I get situated behind the cover, I no longer count as being, repressed, or suppressed, I should say. They're repressing us! We're able to fire back on them, and they're not standing in cover, so they start having a really bad time. And then you get your drop pods. The drop pods are fun. There is a radius around your army that they're able to come down on. And when you drop them on, if there is cover, they will automatically get into cover where they drop down on. And when they land on people, in this case they land on the orcs, they will do some damage, and they will also cause like AoE disruption. So it's really good for interrupting enemy units to stop them from firing. And then you can get into combat and fuck them up and chew bubblegum. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead a good bit here. because the rest of this is just whatever nonsense. So here you'll see like some of the army abilities. The army abilities that show up on this panel, which my big fat head might be in the way. Let me double check. Okay, you can kind of see it behind me. So this little panel here where it has the planetary, it has like a solar system icon here. These are abilities that are usually coming from your fleet. So these will be abilities where, like, if you've upgraded your fleet so that you have an air force, right? So maybe you have an air force of like Stormbirds or whatever the fuck other weapon. I don't remember the names of all. I don't know the names of Space Marine craft. But if you have like flyers in your fleet, the flyers, so long as the enemy doesn't have planetary systems that like prevent them from coming down to help you, they can come down and do bombardments. So the flyers will come down and they will do hit and runs where they'll do drive-bys, and in this case, these flyers have cluster bombs. So there's a radius around my army, so there has to be units within range to basically be like, strike at these coordinates, so you can see what the fuck's going on. And you just click and drag. Now the thing is, the longer you make the click and drag, the longer it takes the ability to charge, but there is a minimum distance of how much. But once you do it, you can look around and you'll hear them coming into orbit. And I think it's a Thunderhawk. And they just, because the orcs are so lightly armored and they were all packed close together, they got just instantly evaporated. Do you feel this style of gameplay is fixed corner camping? Corner camping will probably not be as useful in this game because of the sheer amount of abilities that allow you to summon in reinforcements, like from orbit or teleport in. And plus there's a lot of army abilities like orbital space lasers and cluster bombs and all that other stuff that if you're just bunching up in a corner, you're gonna have a really bad time. All right, so I'm gonna skip all this. So chapter customization. So when you customize a chapter, this is a very, 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 very simplified version. You have a lot of different names to pick from. You can do short names where it's just a singular word, medium names where it'll be 2 words, or 3, or long names where it'll be more than 2 words. So it might be like the something something of something. But you can customize your name. Now you can't put in a completely custom name. You have to pick from a long fucking list that Games Workshop approved for legal reasons. But you also have, so these are your main faction colors. The customization gets way more intense than this. Way more intense than this. But you can see there are presets. So right there was the Ultramarine preset and the Salamander preset. So if you're like, you know, fuck it, I just want to be these guys, you can, or you can make your own. So I make the Wyverns chapter because I was accidentally too stupid to realize that I could make my name longer, so I just did a short name. But you've got all of like the classic Games Workshop colors. You can customize so much more than this. The demo version has a very dumbed down customization, which they do talk about a bit on the stream. So I'll let this just sort of play in the background for a second while I look out for questions, because I am trying to give you guys as much information as I can. But we all know that red, black, and gold is the objective best trio of colors in the universe, and if you don't agree with me, that's okay. It's all right to be wrong. It's okay not to have the right answers. You know, what gives life variety, what makes life interesting, is for people to have different wrong answers. That's what keeps us, that's what makes us human, you know? But boop, boop, boop. You have a lot of different symbols, so you'll probably notice a lot of really popular chapters that are basically already represented. This you can kind of LARP as your favorite factions. So there's like the shark guys, minotaurs, snake boys, eagle dudes, guys with eagle claws, a scorpion thing, some thunderbolt loser, a wolf paw for your furries. You've got a lot of different wolf heads, some fire, really badass draconic head things, a bunch of different eagles shooting lightning, a lot of different Roman numerals or whatever, and yada 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 yada. I love that Flash kits look like their tabletop minis, have pirate hats and squig parrots, unlike Dawn of War 4 where all the units look the same. Well, good. Upsetting so many people right now. Listen, you're already choosing to play Space Marines. I can't make you feel like a bigger loser than you already are. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're playing objectively the worst faction. I don't know what to tell you. I'm about to start making my review videos on the Horus Heresy novels I've been reading. Man, some people are gonna be really pissed. I think some people are gonna be really upset at what I say.
War rages in the Talos Stars subsector. A critical astropathic relay station has fallen to the Orc Scourge. We, the Adeptus Astartes, are inbound. Our mission, to retake the station and purge the Xenos threat. Suffer not the alien to live.
Entering orbit. Orc fleet detected. Taking damage. Retaliating. Targeting Lance batteries.
Okay, so something I want to point out, although this is obviously like scripted for the sake of the demo, this is something you actually do in game. So like when that orc vessel, which is already in orbit around this planet, when you come into orbit around this planet, the fleets would start interacting with each other every turn, where they basically have abilities that have a certain amount of like cooldown timer, where you might raise shields, or you might, like the orcs are shooting fucking lightning bolts at us. We shoot this big old fucking gun thing at them. So there are interactions that you have. They don't just sit there passively. You are interacting with your fleets. Right now, it's just campaign map interactions where you like click a button and like shoot shit and whatever. You can blow up their ships and they can blow up your ships. I believe Creative Assembly's hope that they've communicated on live streams is that they hope that maybe one day after launch they'll be able to make a more sophisticated, in-depth system, but this is what's looking to be like in the actual launch.
Enemy fleet destroyed. Proceeding with bombardment protocols.
Here, so you see he uses his fleet to bombard the orcs, which does some early damage to them.
Strike force is primed for deployment. Our battle brothers are ready to make planetfall. The objectives are clear and verified. Slay the orc filth and capture the relay station. For the Emperor.
For the Emperor. All right, I'm trying to remember if there's anything of interest really that we didn't already cover on the earlier stream. I think pretty much everything from the whoa, hold up. Oh, so here I kind of fly around the galaxy for a little bit. Also, I found out you can go inside the sun and it has unique audio effects. Listen. Bubbly. For the sake of the demo, none of the planets were interactable. Did I find the webway? I did not. I tried my hardest, boys. I tried. Boys, lads, gals, ladies, guys, gals, non-binary pals. I just noted restricted name for your custom factions. Does that mean character names are restricted? I don't think unit and character names are. I think that will work like regular Total War. I think. Don't quote me on that because I don't know. I think you could just like click on them and write like just whatever you want. Maybe? I don't know, actually. That's a good question. I like all the space anomalies. There's like a lot of shit just happening around, which is cool. Is the campaign map a linear experience? No. Not in the actual game. In the demo, yes. In the actual game, no. You can go wherever you want. If you want to focus all of your efforts on a single planet, you can. If you want to focus on all the planets simultaneously, you can. If you want to focus on 2 of them and ignore the others, you can. It's whatever you want to do. What is this guy's randomly generated name? Pentarch Casus Antibendaramaxius. That man's name sounds like a medical... Antibendaramaximus. That... man's a living antibiotic. He's a pill. One might say he's a suppository. Are there legendary lords? I don't know. There are special characters. So there are special characters from the lore in the game. I don't know how you get them. Watch from another content creator video on this. Liked it if you use the bombardment ability against the orcs, your planetary governor gets angry with you because it causes unnecessary civilian casualties. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'm going to skip myself randomly clicking on nonsense for a hot minute. So here you can see like some of the buildings they have available for the beta. So like this city like at level 1 gives you 100 requisition per turn, provides shielding to fleets in orbit. So if you have a fleet in orbit around the Voidcraft Disruptor, around this planet, it gets some bonus shielding protection. If you upgrade it, you could upgrade it to several different kinds of buildings. In this case, if you upgrade it to an orbital defense battery, it will also lower the firepower of enemy fleets in orbit around this planet and gives you additional requisition every turn. Yes, Yarrick, Gazkul, and Nazdreg have all been confirmed so far for Total War Warhammer 40k. If you could also build into a fortified keep, if you do, this will cost you the requisition to build, but once it's built, you get +2 approval for this planet. So this planet, they start to like you a lot more because you built like a big keep to help protect them. Or you can build it as a... Man, I hovered on this for a long time. Or you could build it as long-range ordnance. If you build it as long-range ordnance, it'll make it where any enemy armies that come into this area, so if they come into this province, essentially, they will immediately take damage to all of their units. So all of their units will get -5 health as they're getting blasted with long-range ordnance as they approach. And then if you build it as ordnance and you upgrade it to the Supremacy Carronade, the Supremacy Carronade increases compliance in the capital district. And it also, if any enemies enter this province, they take -10 health as they get blasted with your Supremacy Cannonade. Does this mean we can fight the Inquisition as loyalist Space Marines? I don't know about that. It seems that may be possible, but I don't know for sure. So there's some other options here. You can see you could get additional shielding, additional requisition. You could also build up as a orbital disruption array, which improves your shielding further, gives you more requisition and lowers enemy firepower, but it stops you from getting up to the higher tier options. So you got all sorts of different stuff there. These, because they're not available in the demo, it doesn't say what they do, so I'm going to skip all that shit. Unit recruitment, yada yada yada, some other goodies. This, they force you to auto resolve. I'm just gonna keep speeding along because we've already seen a lot of this. So we'll just go ahead and jump into, okay, here we got a little interesting thing. So here you can see some of the orc army abilities they have. So the orc army abilities the orcs have Wah, which the Wah they can only activate when their Wah meter is full. Presumably they charge up their Wah meter by fighting in combat and shooting at people. When the Wah is active, it lasts until the Wah meter runs out, and it gives them a shitload of buffs. Just an absolute shitload of buffs. Plus 10 to their melee attack, plus 75% melee damage, plus 20 armor piercing melee damage, plus 50% projectile damage, plus 20% projectile armor piercing damage, a flat 10% ward save against all damage, and 25% acceleration, which means that the amount of time it takes them to go from standing still to maximum movement speed is reduced by 25%. And they also have, here we go, where that is an active ability they can use that makes their boys run really, really fast, and they get their mass goes up, their charges get much scarier, and they become much more resistant to suppression. But the Space Marines also have cool abilities. If I go back in time a little bit here, you can see me mouse over the only in death does duty end. So this is a really fucking scary ability that you can use in a battle. If you use this on a unit, the unit makes it where they still take damage, but they cannot die. They cannot die. So those Space Marines can get hit with a gajillion damage, and they will all be at 1 health point. But for 60 seconds, they will keep fighting. And then when those 60 seconds are up, they will almost surely immediately explode. But that is a very, very, very powerful ability for the Space Marines. It's super duper good. Assault Doctrine, you can see, gives you suppression resistance, improves your evasion, melee attack, and your melee damage by 50%. Cool shit, cool shit, cool shit. Devastator Doctrine increases your range by 25% and lowers your reload time, so you're able to fire faster and also fire a longer distance. And then Tactical Doctrine makes your boys run real quick. And also improves their accuracy. Cool shit. So here we get into the battle where I do some more zoom-ins. So you'll notice this is an example of the customization with the demo, right? So, so for this, my librarian is in my faction colors, but because the demo did not let me customize him specifically, you notice that he still has some of the default colors. When you play this game manually, you'll be able to go in to your, to this librarian and manually go across his model and change all the colors to make him look like how you want. But like the sheer amount of customization can break down to specific unit models about what you want them to look like. And maybe if you have the right techs and stuff, the right equipment and stuff, maybe even what weapons they're wielding. Like, you have truly a stupid amount of options. Are you sure? Because librarians do wear blue for a reason? All librarians are blue? Every single librarian ever in existence has to wear blue? That's dumb. Okay, so maybe that's why. I guess there's a lore reason. That's stupid. So here, once again, more of the stuff I was telling y'all about, where you can see, like, this is a unit of aggressors. You can break it down where the sergeant has slightly different equipment from the regular guys. They have Flamestorm Gauntlets. So Flamestorm Gauntlets have the Torrent rule. So Torrent weapons, if you have a Torrent trait, it means the weapon ignores cover and evasion. Very spooky. It also has Twin Link, so they fire both hands simultaneously. And they also have Close Quarters, which Close Quarters means that they can fire the weapon while in close combat as well. which is pretty cool. Here we have the Psyker with the Librarian. So he has an active ability called, the Captain has an active ability called Rites of Battle. So the Rites of Battle is basically a passive that the Captain always has active, where he provides buffs. So he gives +10 melee attack to everyone nearby. The Librarian has Vortex of Doom. So Vortex of Doom is kind of funny because it's a pretty powerful psychic ability that does a lot of damage, and it disrupts enemies and throws them around and everything. But here's a fun little note at the bottom, which is Warp Instability. If your Psyker dies while this ability is active, his body is likely to explode, and where he was standing will immediately conjure a second Vortex of Doom. Hilarious. Also, once you cast a psychic ability, it will the Vortex of Doom, you can decide where it's cast, but then it kind of wanders off, so you'll lose control of it. Here you can see more of the unit breakdown and stuff. The Librarian himself has a unique shooting attack. He has the Witchfire attack, which is a psychic shooting attack that he'll use as if it's a normal shooting attack. So he throws out little bolts of psychic fire at people. More units that you could find in the demo. So you got like your Eradicators. The chunky boys with their big old two-handed weapons. They got crack grenades. So once again, you'll see the swap conditions. They will not use these unless there's a target within 50 yards and the target has at least 100 armor. And then they have Melta weapons. So the Melta weapons have the Melta trait, which means they are absolutely devastating at short range against literally everything. If you are at short range with a Melta gun, your opponent is going to have a bad time. They have 2 specialists in the unit. In this case, the specialist seems to be wielding the same weapon as is the Sergeant. And then the Sergeant also has a bolt rifle that he can switch to. You got your Repulsor tank, which has very nice audio. Do weapons units have veterancy? Yes. Units gain experience and level up and their stats improve. Yes. So here you can see all the stuff about how the tanks work. A lot of the tank weapons will have the turret trait. So the turret trait basically means that it's a weapon that has its own unique firing arc from the rest of the unit. And if it can't see what the rest of the unit is shooting at, it will then find its own unique independent target and start shooting. So it will always be firing different weapons in different directions. Though if all of the weapons can draw line of sight to the same target or the same arc, they will all focus fire if you give them a specific target. And you can also see their stone bolters being wielded by the dudes that are inside the tank. Got the Crackstorm grenade launcher, yada 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 yada. I'm gonna skip ahead some more. The Land Raider is bonkers. The Land Raider is so fucking strong. This thing just like giggles and laughs. If you're a medium or heavy unit, say goodbye to your asshole because it's about to destroy it. I assume you're not allowed to talk about the Eldar. So technically, no, I'm not allowed to talk about the Eldar, I guess. But it's more of the issue of I haven't seen them. They haven't been in any of the builds that I've played. So, like, I don't know. It appears that they are going to be the last faction to be developed. All right, we're gonna skip all this. Just go to the battle footage just for funsies because, like I said, this is stuff you can all see later. I did also spend some time mousing over all of the Astra Militarum stuff, so you can see the Astra Militarum has some kind of fun effects. So they have the Defenders of Humanity trait as a passive, and basically what this is that if they're defending an objective, their evasion goes up by 10, which is very cute. So if they're defending an objective for the Imperium, they will be better at dodging enemy shooting, which is awesome. And then they also have Born Soldiers, which is that if they have a command unit, oh gosh, I'm trying to, yeah, if they have a commander, I believe, with them, so if they have a command unit nearby, or no, if they are a command unit, so they have a like a unit champion, they get a bonus to their projectile damage. See, lasguns are surprisingly spooky. They're not very good against like light targets, but they're really fucking good against heavy and medium targets. They're AP heavy weapons. Send you the link to the Deathmaster gameplay. Thank you. And they have bayonets! Fix bayonets, lads! So they do have the bayonets as their melee weapons. You then got like the Lehman Russ, where you can see some placeholder text. What do you do? But the Lehman Russ, you'll see here, it has the damage traits. So there is a damage system in this game. So in this game, if you take too much, if you're a single entity, so if you have a single entity unit, so like big monsters or tanks and such, if they lose too much health, then they will get debuffs to all of their stats. So it takes them longer to reload, they're less accurate, they're slower, and they're less efficient in close combat. So they get damaged once they're below 50% health, and then they become heavily damaged once they're below 20% health. So the lower health your single entities have, the shittier they get at fighting, which is pretty fun, like cool, whatever. Once again, I'm gonna skip all this nonsense because if you want to see it, I'll put it up as a stream that you can watch later. And we'll just enjoy some combat nonsense. But yeah, oh god, I can feel myself having low blood sugar. I need to eat soon. But I will say this. Let me cut to the core. Let me cut to the core of this stream right now. How am I feeling so far about Total War Warhammer 40,000? So far, based on this very, very specific alpha footage that I got to play, it seems pretty fun so far. It's a very unique gameplay experience. There's not a lot like it, I think, in the current gaming sphere, and I think it has a lot of really good potential. I don't know if they're gonna stick the landing. There are potentially a lot of oopsies that could happen along the way, but so far it seems really interesting. Am I going to be more interested in playing this than Total War Warhammer 3? No. Because I just don't like 40k nearly as much as I like fantasy. At all. Like, for me, 40k is far more boring than fantasy is. So like, am I like, oh, this game's so good, I'm gonna stop playing fantasy when this comes out? Absolutely not. But it does seem, so far at least, and if they could stick the landing, like a really fun game. And I think there's a lot of good stuff to potentially come from it. So with that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up my footage. Like I said, after the stream, I will have a I'll just release the footage for people to pick apart as they wish. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask them as we get to the end of the stream here. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming along with me on this journey. I hope it's good. I do hope it's good. All right, so apparently Hawk has sent me the gameplay footage from Deathmaster that came out at Gamescom, which apparently I should have watched the streams today, I guess. Apparently there's a lot of video games that got announced that I might be interested in, so egg on my face. So I guess we'll watch this live together. I have not seen this. I did not hear anything about Deathmaster stuff. Have I seen that 2XKO died? Yes, and who cares? Not me. I feel like they did not market that game at all. And they also really should have had a single player mode, and there wasn't one, and I don't know what the hell they were thinking. But yes, I did saw that game exploded. All right, so let's check out Deathmaster.
Panic escapes cage. I can smell your fear. Noises in the corners.
Ooh, this looks really fun. Interestingly, the art style and like the way the system interactions are kind of going, this kind of reminds me a lot of Oddworld. Oh, the kill animations look really, really fun. Oh, you gotta hide bodies?
Needs chicken. Yes, yes.
Eat chicken? Eat chicken, yes, yes.
I hear something. Yes, yes. He was here. Come here. Chop his head off. He'd say that. That's how.
Fucking warp lightning cannon. Oh, lordy. Big ol' rat ogre.
Riddick will be Deathmaster.
It looks really fun. 2027 wish list now. Don't mind if I do. Yeah, this looks super duper. Wow, his tail looks fucking disgusting. Oh my god. It's like held together by stitches with warpstone in it. It's just like covered in pustules. It's ugh. Ugh. This looks really good. This looks really, really, really good. Yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I think it's gonna be awesome. I don't know if it's gonna be perfect, but it looks really, really fun. I also like the style they went with. Like the art style is really nice. It does remind me a lot of Oddworld, but that's not a bad thing. So does the gameplay as well. I also like that it's a bit more of like a puzzle game instead of like a real-time game, which I think will give it like a really nice little niche. But it looks good. It looks good. I'm very, very excited for this game to come out. I need to try and reach out to the devs to see if maybe I could get myself in on that goodness. Yeah, I think that'll be hopefully that'll be like a fun, successful game. Because God knows it'd be nice to get like at least one popular AOS game. That'd be cool. inject a little bit of life into that setting outside of just like the books. Ugh. All right. That is me. Is Deathmaster Stitch around? No. We don't know if he's dead. Like he's never been confirmed dead, I should say. But that is not what I meant to click. What is wrong with my brain? I doubt that he is alive. I'll put it that way. But it is not confirmed. Joining late, do you think we'll see the Primarchs in Total War 40k? I think eventually you will see the Primarchs, yes. I would be surprised if they did not include the playable Primarchs. Will you see Sanguinius? No. 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 I think your bird boy. I'm so sorry. I think he's pretty dead, dude. And it, to my understanding, a lot of the setting kind of like relies on him being dead. I'm so sorry to say that. All right, but that is me. I'm so sorry. But no, I would not. I expect that they will eventually be in the game. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here because I got other stuff I gotta do today, and I gotta eat, and I've got just things to happen. So I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'm gonna send y'all off to raid some buddies of mine. Why don't we raid Vera? Sure, we'll raid Vera. That works. Vera Samilla. What is she doing? She's playing Kingdom Hearts. Perfect. Have a lovely day. Thank you all so much for joining me. Feel free to drop by for the footage and all that stuff later. I will see you when I see you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.